Chapter 21. Mr. Su Chen, we are here to consult you today. Please do not change the subject. Seeing that Fury was silent and not as domineering as before when he was angry with those on the council, Steve stepped forward to take over Fury's task. Su Chen looked at Steve. Are you Captain America? Wow, I finally saw you alive. I didn't bother you when I saw you were still in popsicle form. Look at these breasts. They are indeed something that Ms. Carter can't help but touch. Team leader, Phil Coulson, why don't you come and have a bite? Su Chen looked at Steve as if he were an alien, and at the same time looked at Phil Coulson. It's not like Phil Coulson to be so calm when meeting his idol. Could it be that this guy really slapped Fury, and then was dealt with in advance and then switched? This Captain America Steve is a Marvel legend. In a world where superheroes are inconsistent and overturned, Steve is like a breath of fresh air. No matter who the enemy is, they have to forcefully fight you 50-50, or they can easily defeat the miscellaneous fish in seconds. Either teammates will support you, or equipment will support you, or they may even give you a little boost. First I was evenly matched with you, but in the end I won with my noble personality. The summary of Captain America is that other heroes have high upper limits and also high lower limits, while Captain has a high upper limit and a particularly low lower limit. Phil Coulson did not respond to Su Chen's bad jokes. It's really boring. Well, since you want to ask questions, you have to show some sincerity. After saying that, Su Chen looked at the three of them with a smile. Phil Coulson understood this and took out the photo of himself and the director directly from his arms with great reluctance. Yes, I actually got it. Icarus, enlarge this photo 10 times, frame it, and put it in my collection together with this eye patch. The reason why Su Chen did this was that he accidentally discovered that the more treasures there are, the better things will be where you sign them. Although these two things are definitely not rated high, they are interesting to watch, aren't they? After a while, Nick Fury became famous, so he took these photos to the newspaper office and auctioned them off, and the highest bidder got them. I believe you can definitely make a fortune. Is this of any use to you, you ask? It's definitely useless, but I feel good after doing this. Because I'm in a good mood, I'll let you ask a question. It's free. The next question is charged. Su Chen said with a smile. It's still the same question as before. I want to know the specific situation of your organization. Fury finally recovered from the blow and asked. At least 2/3 of this sincerity comes from him. It's so persistent. The organization I belong to is the Ancient One Magician, which is the monastery founded by my teacher Sorcerer Supreme. We practice magic in Kamar-Taj all year round and are the most powerful magic force on earth. There are countless descendants of the Ancient One Magician. The purpose of our organization is similar to that of your shield. They are both to protect the earth, but we are more awesome than you. Su Chen saw Fury's face getting darker and darker. Don't ask why. Continued. You are only maintaining the internal peace of the earth, and we will not easily interfere with ordinary people and secretly resist the invasion of cosmic evil spirits and multi-dimensional crises. Nick Fury glanced at Su Chen. Secret protection. Like asking again, are you sure about secret protection? Definitely. If you don't believe me, check the accident records. We have the means to cover up the incident as a gas leak. Otherwise, with the frequency of gas leaks like this, the gas company will not go bankrupt. You know why New York is rated as one of the 3 safest cities in the multi-universe? It's all because of us. Quote ? Quote. Fury looked confused, with a short circuit in his mind. The amount of information is a bit large. You don't even know this. No wonder your shield is so low. Fury. I don't know, I'm really sorry for you. The 3 safest cities are New York, my territory, Academy City, and Fuyuki City. Well, I don't know anything except New York. Fury spread his hands. It can be concluded now that Su Chen did not say a word of truth. Su Chen shrugged helplessly. No one believed him when he told the truth. It's my fault. However, Fury decided to go back and investigate these incidents carefully to see if he could find any evidence. This sounds incredible. Why don't you want to believe it? You obviously have a group of aliens, and you also have the contact information of a powerful person on Earth. Su Chen said casually, but these words set off a shocking wave in Fury's heart, as if his biggest secret had been revealed. You know, even if former director Alexander betrayed S.H.I.E.L.D., he wouldn't be so surprised. What's wrong with this? As I said, you S.H.I.E.L.D. are so weak that those who are truly capable will treat you like nothing. Taking Mutant as an example, with your strength, can you storm X Academy? You don't have the courage of the military, but they dare to do it, and they can still succeed. If you don't have the strength, you can have better equipment, but you can't compare to Stark alone. Fury, tell me, what use do you have? At this time, Fury almost believed it, but he just couldn't get over the hurdle in his heart. Sorcerer Supreme, the monastery, resists evil spirits and prevents multi-universe invasion. These words sound so high-end and classy. But none of this has anything to do with S.H.I.E.L.D. The arrogant Fury found it difficult to accept this cruel reality. What about the promised S.H.I.E.L.D. being the best in the world? If what Su Chen said is true, then Avengers is a joke. Now he also understood why he had to leave him alone and wait for half an hour, and then find him after finishing the exchange with the Ancient One. Co-authorship is more important to others. However, after getting this information, Fury also began to struggle. As the king of agents, he must be suspicious of everything. It's not that I'm suspicious by nature, but that there is no room for luck in protecting the Earth. Now he must prepare for the consequences of the Priory betraying the Earth and disrupting the world. Alright, don't regard the people of the Priory as enemies. We are all secret guardians of the Earth. We have existed for more than 500 years, and the Earth Lord has not had a single accident. Su Chen saw through Fury's thoughts and explained. But the last sentence was said without conscience. Only the Ancient One magician knows how many times the Lord of Earth has perished. Ancient One's use of Time Gem is extremely crude, and it is not an exaggeration to say that it is a waste of natural resources. Only Doctor Strange too perfectly fits Time Gem. Ancient One knew that he could not control the full power of the Time Gem, so he spent most of his life working hard to train the Time Loop skill to the full level, and the effect was quite good. In this way, Ancient One is like a player who restarts once he can no longer play. The enemy can win 99 games in a row, but cannot lose even one, while the Ancient One has infinite lives. So how many times has the Ancient One restarted the Earth? Who knows? And the Ancient One is not the only one in the world who can do this. Secretly protecting the Earth. But your behavior is not low-key at all. Your name is now in the hands of ordinary members of the Security Council. The rich people in Manhattan hate you so much that they even put your name on the assassination list, and the amount is even higher than that of the president. Su Chen is happy. Do you want to write a script in which he kills himself? Just hang up, it doesn't matter. My name is already on the must-kill list of Mephisto in another dimension. Don't worry about their petty quarrel. Before, Ancient One only wanted to tell Su Chen about this. Ancient One gained some advantages in the last contest with Dormammu. In the end, Dormammu suffered a heavy loss, causing Su Chen to be resented. Maybe he will cause trouble for Su Chen when he gathers believers again after a while. I would like to kindly remind you that the choice is yours, just don't disturb the peaceful life of this holy place. If you accidentally disturb me, I will write down your name in a small booklet that lists threats to the safety of the Earth. Maybe there will be a few more added, so be careful. Quote. Su Chen said the harshest words with the calmest anticipation. Doctor Strange has a small book with a list, and Su Chen also has one, and it's more comprehensive than Doctor Strange's. The spoilers are so awesome from God's perspective. Fury was silent, and Steve and Phil Coulson were speechless. That's it, you just have to figure it out. You've asked what you need to ask, no matter how much I say, I can't comment. As an old Chinese saying goes, the implication is to close the door and see guests off. But Fury is thick-skinned, and he finally made up his mind to come here and definitely get the benefit of being older. Mr. Su Chen, you see that we, S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Priory, are all here to protect the world from harm. We are also human beings. Why don't you join us too? After speaking, Fury took out the Avengers plan. Is this considered recruiting Su Chen to join the team? Su Chen raised an eyebrow in Fury's expectant gaze. I reject. Mr. Su Chen, can't you provide technical assistance? We can even establish an employment relationship. Fury still didn't give up, looking at Su Chen with his only burning eye. He looked like he would not give up until Su Chen fooled her. Employment relationship. As a free thug, Or do you have something I like? Money. Do you think magicians like us need money? Or do you think I'm too shameless for you, to be a dog for a group of politicians who don't know anything? After saying this, an almost substantial pressure came towards Fury. He lay on the ground involuntarily. Overlord and domineering. Unlock the GARP character template and combine it with the battle with Hulk. Su Chen also awakened his own domineering style. But keeping Fury was still useful. Su Chen quickly lost his domineering power. Fury slowly wiped the sweat from his head, and for a moment he did not expect to be able to pay Su Chen. Do you have any friendship with such a strong person, and you want him to work for you without paying? It's a dream. Just like Tony, if it weren't for his father's hard work in S.H.I.E.L.D., he probably wouldn't have paid attention to Fury. Then your monastery is still recruiting people. There is a saying that goes well, if you can't beat them, then join them. S.H.I.E.L.D. can't defeat Hulk, then they all join the Hulk camp. So Hulk became a member of the Avengers. Haha, it seems you don't know what it means to push yourself too far. At this time, a magic book suddenly sounded an alarm and flew to Su Chen on its own initiative. Fury wanted to say something else, but had to give it up and see what happened first. But it seems that his conspiracy will not succeed. This magic book is Su Chen's list of people who threaten the comfort of the earth. One of the red names started to flash. Witchman. Why is he here on Earth? Has the plot of Ghost Rider begun? At this time, in the wilderness of New Mexico, a hammer fell from the sky and created a crater. At the same time, he moved the barrier set up by Ancient One Magician. The witch-hearted demon used this to escape from hell to the human world. Weird things happen every year, especially this year. It seems that holy place Asgardian in New York is not a good thing. Su Chen is very well informed. The reason is that the people of Asgard were ventilated in advance. Otherwise, with the strength of the Destroyer, the Ancient One Magician wouldn't have stepped in. The King's Trial. Why are you, a witch-hearted demon, joining in the fun? According to the magic book, both came to New Mexico. Did something trouble happen? Nick Fury came forward and took a hard look at the contents of the magic book with his only single eye. It's a pity that all I saw were some Sanskrit characters I didn't recognize, which was really uncomfortable. Hey, you want to get involved too? Su Chen glanced at Fury contemptuously. What, we can't participate? Are you sure? This is a trial given by an alien main god to his son, and a lesson given to his son by another main god. Are you sure your little arms and legs can handle it? You can definitely call the ant. After all, each of them has the strength of a solo ant. When Nick Fury heard this, he suddenly broke into sweat. He was still using Captain America as the unit of measurement for his combat power, but it turned out that he was using the unit of measurement for his combat power to destroy countries and stars. It can't be compared, it can't be compared. Why can't we compare? Let's give it a try. Su Chen joked. You will die if you try. Fury gave in decisively. One is the Prince of Asgard, Thor, and the other is the son of the Lord of Hell, the Demon of Heart. The status is almost the same. However, the treatment is very different. The silly son of Asgard will soon kill his old father and inherit the throne, but he still stirs up wars everywhere. The old father knew that he had become a tyrant on impulse when he was young. If his son did the same, after his death, Thor, who had no strength, would not be able to protect Asgard. The people of Asgard shall not perish. The witch-heart demon could not survive his old father's death, so he decided to find the power to overthrow his father's rule. The Lord of Hell has almost an eternal lifespan. How could the witch-heart demon have the chance to become the new Lord of Hell? And he himself is not strong enough to overthrow Mephisto's rule. So, Asgard's old father wanted his son to grow up, so he threw him to Earth for testing. The old father from Hell wanted his son dead, so he sent the secret hand from Earth to shoot him to death. This is father's love. Father is a mountain. Although they are both second generation, they have the same people but different fates. The Asgardians were okay, at least they said hello, but what about Hell? Needless to say, Hell is also on the Priory's defense list. Therefore, the evil spirits who enter the country illegally need to be expelled. New Mexico is also under Su Chen's asylum, so Su Chen still has to do it in person. Trouble, if it is handled well, it will be a happy family. If it is not handled well, it will be the love and hate of 2 princes, no, 3 princes. But it seems that the more this happens, the more good things you sign in for. The panties last time were definitely an accident. Su Chen believes that African Emirates definitely influenced him. Fury, you just asked, am I hiring people? I didn't need it just now. Now I need an errand boy. There is no salary, but he can help you gain knowledge. Su Chen smiled, looked at Fury, and then at Captain America. Fury is a human being, why doesn't he understand this? Definitely, Phil Coulson is you. Phil Coulson. I didn't say anything. Why did I just lie down like this? No way, Director, do you still hold grudges? However, Fury immediately looked back at Phil Coulson. How could I hold a grudge? How could I encounter danger as a follower to such a powerful person? I am training you to become a qualified next director. Phil Coulson was silent. Fury, if you are like this, then you can make a video for me as a reward for showing you some knowledge. Nani, my people work as your followers and I still want to pay you. Fury couldn't help but feel a little warm and angry on his face. If he hadn't been unable to defeat him, he would have definitely shot Su Chen with an RPG. If he had known this, he might as well have been Steve. It's not that difficult. It's almost the same as asking Phil Coulson. Really, that's not bad, Fury said doubtfully. As for why Su Chen did this, it was not because he signed a strange thing, otherwise Fury would have received the lunchbox just now. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the ambition of the sand sculpture author. The ambition of the sand sculpture author. After watching Avengers Alliance IV, an unknown being saw the peak of Captain America's IQ and said, Hydra hail, in the elevator. Now he wants to see Fury, as the director, say, Hydra hail, to random people in the elevator. This stunning picture, quote, if the conditions are met, you will randomly receive an artifact from the world. Seeing this, Su Chen had no intention of killing Fury. How could a little Fury be so important as an artifact? Fury, come here, let me tell you, as long as you do this, and then do this, I will take Phil Coulson to see the world, and if there is any trouble in the future, I can also take the time to do you a small favor. Su Chen held Fury's shoulders, as if what happened before had never happened. Ah, let me see, deal. The adult world is so sincere and unpretentious. On the high road heading to New Mexico, a black motorcycle was driving really fast. At the moment sitting in the car were Su Chen, Icarus, and the driver Phil Coulson. Su Chen is actually sitting in the back seat, lying on Icarus' lap and eating the grapes fed by Icarus. Don't you know how to teleport magic? Why do you still need to take a car? Phil Coulson couldn't help but complained when he saw that the dog food was full. Although I have sold my body now, have I sold my thoughts? For Phil Coulson, Su Chen's risk level is relatively low. Except for a bit of a bad personality. You can't teleport to places you haven't been to, and I don't know where to find the goal of our trip. It can only lock on the general range, so it won't affect you while walking around. Su Chen opened the window and looked at the scenery outside. We've been driving all day and it's getting dark. Let's get out of the car and have something to eat to replenish some energy. Opening the car, Su Chen got out of the car with Icarus. Why did you bring a little girl out? Phil Coulson frowned. According to his guess, this trip would be very unsafe. Wouldn't it be inconvenient to move with a little girl? Quote question mark. Are you worried about her? Even if she looks like a little girl, if we really fight, I may not be able to beat her. All of you shield combined are not enough for him to play with one hand. Phil Coulson is speechless, slandering shield every day. But looking at Icarus's little wings, he was already convinced. At this time, Su Chen had already taken Icarus into a Chinese restaurant. However, as soon as the female cashier inside saw Phil Coulson, she subconsciously touched the penis under the cabinet. Su Chen laughed at Phil Coulson and said, "It seems you still have a bit of a bad image." At this time, the sales clerk saw the person clearly and said apologetically, "I'm sorry, 3D guest, I didn't mean it. The recent generation is not very peaceful, so I subconsciously." "Are there many robbers in the West?" Phil Coulson asked, to be considerate of the people and understand the situation. If that was really the case, he would have a good chat with the local police chief. Just as Phil Coulson finished speaking, 3 armed robbers rushed into the door. "Robbery, don't move, Squat down for me. Whose car is that outside? Hand over the keys. Looking at Cheng pointing at his forehead, Su Chen said calmly. It seems there are really a lot of robbers in the West. Tell me, who owns the car? The man with the gun walked in and lowered Su Chen's forehead, roaring angrily. At the moment, the other two robbers were also very anxious and looked back from time to time. The surroundings have been uneasy recently. Several of his friends have disappeared inexplicably late at night. Today, he suddenly saw a car driven by Phil Coulson. Judging from their level, they are worth a lot of money. The money they robbed of this car and this store together was enough for their subsequent lives. After finishing this job, leave this city and wash your hands in a golden basin. I will set the flag here first. If it's my place. Phil Coulson calmly took out the key. Give me the key and stay away from me. A robber shouted immediately. Here, Phil Coulson said and threw out his key. Just as the three robbers turned their attention to the key, Phil Coulson moved. She rushed forward, grabbed one of the robber's guns, and punched him in the face. While the robber was in pain, Phil Coulson had already grabbed the gun, and then shot away the other robber's gun with his backhand. The robber leader seemed frightened when he saw this, so he fired 2 shots at random, turned around and ran towards the door. It seems that you are pretty good as an errand boy. The trouble will be solved soon. Su Chen looked at the 2 people who fell to the ground and the one who ran away and said calmly. Is it okay if I don't solve them? If I solve them, they can at least spend the rest of their lives in prison. But if you take action, you will probably have to meet Satan for the rest of your life. Phil Coulson complained in his heart. However, Su Chen's words didn't stop, and the robber leader who ran away screamed in horror. There was despair and pain in the voice, and anyone could hear it clearly. Go out and have a look. I'll unveil the mystery of the earth for you. After saying that, Su Chen took Icarus and walked out. After going out, what caught my eye was somewhat different from what Phil Coulson thought. I saw a man sitting on a motorcycle on the dark road, staring at this side, and the robber fell in front of him. What's right? Phil Coulson frowned. No, that miserable scream was not caused by Jian Yi Yue. I feel an aura about you that makes me very disgusted. Ha 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 ha. You are very evil. Am I evil? Su Chen gave the man a fierce look. I'm not Morgana Liang Bing, why am I evil? No matter how you look at it, my little Icarus is more evil. Evil must be completely purified, so my judgment on you is, you are guilty. The man on the motorcycle leaned down and said in a hoarse voice. You want to kill me? It seems that the devil not only modified your body, but also modified your senses by the way, right? Ah ha ha ha. Go away, kill you, I can't control myself. The man screamed hoarsely in the darkness. At the same time, his body suddenly burned with flames. In the sudden and fierce flames, the man's clothes did not change, but his hair, skin, and even flesh were burned to ashes and became a human being. A flaming skull. Then now I begin the trial. Skull Nan looked at Su Chen, and the torch-like flame made his skull shine in the dark night. Does it mean that strong men like to keep their heads bald these days? Why don't you get one and let me try it too? Looking into Ghost Rider's empty eyes, that is known as Ghost Rider's most powerful weapon. Eye of Judgment. It is to use the fire of hell to the extreme, through the eyes of Ghost Rider, directly use the fire of hell to burn the soul of the other party, and the other party will always experience the pain caused by the crimes committed against other victims in the past. Even Daredevil, who is blind, is not immune to the Ghost Rider's gaze. This can't help but remind Su Chen of Doctor Strange in the future. If you are facing the scene of Ghost Rider's eyes of punishment directly told the doctor, your hands are stained with the blood of countless innocent people, taste the pain. Doctor Strange. I'm an operating room surgeon. Doctor Strange. Death. What is this? The moment he saw the flaming skull, Phil Coulson was shocked even though he had seen the world before. Quickly taking out her pistol, Icarus spread her 3-meter diameter wings. Have you heard of the legend that has been circulating for many years? About Ghost Rider. Su Chen turned around and said. Oh my god, does this monster really exist? Phil Coulson's expression changed drastically. Apparently, the appearance of Ghost Rider refreshed his worldview. Everything before could be explained by science, but now it is a mythical species. What's this? I guess your director will send you to investigate the hammer later. It's Asgard's thing. They are all Earth myths. Do you need to understand them? Su Chen was still thinking about another thing, and that was that as soon as he stepped into New Mexico, the Ghost Rider came. If there weren't some problems, Su Chen wouldn't believe it at all. Both of you are guilty. After Ghost Rider finished speaking, he started his flaming real magic modified motorcycle and rushed towards Su Chen. Seeing Ghost Rider rushing over, Icarus stepped forward and grabbed the front of Ghost Rider's car. He pressed against the front of the car fiercely, and the two wheels of the motorcycle roared angrily, as if they wanted to push the man in front of him away. But Icarus didn't move. Powered by Ghost Rider's Hellfire, this motorcycle can accompany its rider in dazzling movements. It can drive in places where the board of Mr. Newton's coffin cannot be held, such as on water or vertical buildings. At top speed, he can even use the earth as his racing track. And because it is accompanied by Ghost Rider Johnny's performance all year round and tempered by the fire of hell. I also have some awareness. Just like the divine sword in the myth of cultivating immortals, it suddenly leaps out when Johnny is in danger and carries his master out of danger. And now that Ghost Rider and motorcycle are so powerful, not even Icarus can do anything about it. Ghost Rider saw this and said, "You are guilty." A pair of Eye of Judgment is activated, facing Icarus's eyes. "Look into my eyes." Ghost Rider's hoarse voice came, and at the same time his head leaned towards Icarus's eyes. Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. Icarus, your soul is stained with. How can it be? How come you don't have a soul? Not even physical. What are you? Eye of Judgment is completely useless, even Ghost Rider can understand it without his brain. The person in front of me, no, angel with pink wings, is not a living being, has no body, and no soul. And there is a halo on his head. Very much like the angel in the Bible, he also has some evil flavor in him. His current battles are all based on Ghost Rider's instincts. So I know that my strongest skill, Eye of Judgment, is useless, which is equivalent to destroying my hands and losing half of them. Icarus ignored it and suddenly raised the head of the motorcycle, trying to throw the motorcycle away. Fortunately, Ghost Rider was born in a sideshow circus and made a beautiful leap directly, sliding hundreds of meters on the ground. But the Soul Knight didn't believe in evil, so he hit the accelerator again and rushed towards Icarus. At the same time, he was holding an iron chain in his hand, and he was caught off guard and wrapped around Icarus. Icarus' computing power in the unliberated state is not strong, which creates a loophole for Ghost Rider. After all, Icarus is just an entertainment angel now. Be my tool. Ghost Rider's hellfire spreads along the chains to Icarus' body. Suddenly Icarus became the Flame Man. But the fire of hell only burned on the surface of Icarus and did not touch anything deeper. The collar around Icarus' neck suddenly appeared, and a chain extended to the palm of Su Chen's hand. Su Chen raised his arm and directly dispersed the hellfire surrounding Icarus. Hey, hey, hey. I'm still here. Is it appropriate to rape my sister like this? No need to keep Icarus in your hands, just kill him. After speaking, Icarus's eyes lit up when he heard Su Chen's words, and the magic lines engraved on his body began to emit a faint light. Stop this hellfire from eroding. Although there are still signs of being burned, it must have been calcined for at least several hundred years. Su Chen knew what Icarus's weakness was from the beginning, as he is a product of quasi-technological side. Have human emotions. Even the attack power has the power to kill gods, but those are also technological gods. Not necessarily at Marvel, so Su Chen carved a magical defensive barrier on Icarus very early on. This gives Ikaros, which had almost no magic resistance at the beginning, extremely strong magic resistance. However, Icarus may not be able to defeat Ghost Rider without turning on Queen of the Sky mode. Mephisto, the Lord of Hell, is the most powerful weapon. In its final form, it has the ability to challenge the 13 Marvel heroes by one person, and has the ability to defeat Thor directly on the frontal battlefield. And now he is just a rookie Ghost Rider who has just awakened his power and is controlled by Mephisto. Icarus grabbed the chain and began to spin, as if throwing a hammer. It's like Hulk angrily smashing Loki repeatedly. While the Soul Knight was still confused, he was already stunned and disoriented. Then he shouted loudly and smashed him to the ground. Icarus's strength is long range, but if you underestimate his basic strength, ordinary people will die. Ghost Rider was still struggling to stand up, but he looked seriously injured now, with most of his bones broken into pieces. Just when Phil Coulson was a guy without fighting ability. The bones on Ghost Rider's body began to heal automatically. And the soul chariot that was affected by the aftermath became as if it was brand new again. How is this possible? What kind of monster is this? Phil Coulson shouted in disbelief. Magic inherently represents the impossible, let alone magical creatures. Su Chen said calmly. The fire is the fire of hell, and the fire of hell relies on Mephisto of hell. As long as Mephisto does not die, he will be immortal. In terms of threat level, maybe he is higher than the Hulk. You stand back and don't look into his eyes. You are an ordinary person and have no ability to resist magic. Phil Coulson frowned. I'm an ordinary person and I'm really sorry. Although I am unwilling to be an ordinary person, facing such a powerless situation, retreating is the best choice. Now is a good time to sign in. Let's sign into the system. Ding. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the skill, Hell Karma Fire, from Shenyang. The Hell Karmic Fire skill is Shenyang's starting skill. Su Chen stopped his right hand to release the Qigong wave and immediately lit up the Red Lotus Karma Fire skill in his hand. Light Cannon is a warrior's skill. Dad said that only magic can defeat magic. After speaking a magic circle, a round flame ball condensed instantly. Hell's Fire, Hell Karma Fire. After a dazzling red light, there was an explosion of huge amounts. Su Chen carried Phil Coulson and backed away wildly. The moment Su Chen left, boom, the scorching temperature quickly enveloped Ghost Rider, and Icarus flew away even with wings. Under the ultra-high temperature, rocks and ground are melted crazily and even vaporized. Under the flames, it was already boiling like a pool of magma. The Ghost Rider was turned into a pile of dregs by the explosion just now. Skills, not bad. As if responding to Su Chen, a magma bubble burst suddenly, and a Ghost Rider covered in magma rode on a chariot. Driving out quickly, the speed definitely exceeded 3 times the speed of sound. I ran so fast and got slapped in the face. Rubbish skills. Things won't end like this, I will be back. While driving away, Ghost Rider did not forget to say harsh words. Bang bang bang. Seeing Ghost Rider escaping, the first person to react was not Su Chen Icarus, but Phil Coulson, who had been there early in the morning. Just fire several shots at Ghost Rider. I said, it's not like you don't know that guns are useless, so are you venting your anger? Seeing this scene, Su Chen was also speechless. To be honest, everyone is a little angry when someone comes to their door for no reason. Su Chen doesn't care whether he did it on purpose or not. But Ghost Rider's Hellfire is indeed quite powerful, and Su Chen's Hellfire, the name deceived me. Hell Karma Fire, originally a Chinese Buddhist term, is the strongest fire in hell, punishing sins in the world of wronging innocent people. The second level of the 18 levels of hell, in Japanese Buddhism, became the god of fire, divine fire to punish sinners. It appears in many Japanese games. Mostly used in magic skills, it has a higher temperature than ordinary fire and does more damage. I thought it was really the legendary Hell Fire. But it only has partial power. And Su Chen seems to have made a mistake in how to use it. This cautious and courageous Hell Karma Fire. It's a combo. It's a last-ditch skill. Phil Coulson didn't pay attention to Su Chen's complaints and opened the communication panel without hesitation. Director, I have something to report here, and I also want to apply for satellite tracking. Fury appeared on Phil Coulson's tablet. What needs satellite tracking? Fury couldn't help but ask after hearing this. I'm transmitting it to you like an image now. After a while, Phil Coulson found that he was still somewhat useful. Although not in terms of combat. On the other side, after a few minutes of silence, Fury finally spoke. Okay, now you have the authority to mobilize satellites and coordinate with nearby personnel. But Fury's eyes were a little dodgy when he looked at Su Chen. So I quickly hung up the video. Can you find Ghost Rider? Su Chen asked. There's no need to worry. Although he moves fast, he will always stop. Phil Coulson smiled and said, although I can't help much during the battle, this kind of tracking is my old job. Don't use it as an agent, you shouldn't use it as an agent. I fired the special detector when I fired. I was lucky enough that a few shots missed the flames. It should still be on the monster's motorcycle now. How could Phil Coulson, a top agent, shoot to vent his anger over such a trivial matter. Yes, now I suddenly feel that you are more useful than Captain America. Ha ha ha. Su Chen smiled and said, it seems that this Ghost Rider is quite unlucky. Then we chase now? Phil Coulson asked. Definitely. No, let's eat. We're going during the day. This time was originally meant for dinner, and it was time for dinner. In addition, Su Chen had a large appetite, so she was already hungry. As a result, he was interrupted by the robbery, and another Ghost Rider popped out. Anyway, let's eat first. If you are not active in eating, there is something wrong with your brain. This is it. Phil Coulson stopped the car. At the moment, a deserted scene appeared outside the car. In the middle of the cemetery is a wooden house. I chased it from morning to afternoon, and finally found it. I'm afraid it spanned most of the state, right? Su Chen looked at a handsome motorcycle parked outside. Compared to the car modified by Ghost Rider, the original version looks weak. Su Chen walked out of the car, glanced at the sun in the sky, and nodded with satisfaction. There was still some time before dark at 3 or 4 o'clock. For Ghost Rider Tony, his ability is completely useless. Ghost Rider could originally use Angel's power, but the new Ghost Rider is not strong enough and cannot do this yet. And the location chosen for Ghost Rider is also great for Su Chen. What should we do next? Phil Coulson asked. It was his first time dealing with this kind of thing. He was inexperienced and cautious. Don't worry, just treat it like a normal chat. If a fight breaks out later, just be patient. After saying that, Su Chen walked up to the cabin and knocked on the door without hesitation. Who is it? An old voice came from Wu Wei. Check the water meter. Su Chen replied without thinking. Quote. We are certified by the FBI. Phil Coulson heard the sound and replied. This business is very knowledgeable and very skilled. After being silent for a long time, he let out a sigh, as if saying, what was supposed to come eventually came. Come in, we're unlocked. The old man's voice sounded again. Phil Coulson thought, was that man yesterday an old man? Hearing the sound of this song, Su Chen opened the door and walked in. The first thing that came into view was an old man wearing jeans with a mustache and white hair. Young man, what do you want from me? The old man replied without looking back at the coffee. It's nothing, it's just an activity organized by the community to care for the lonely elderly. Old men like you are the ones we focus on, so I bring the care of the community to send you a warm message. The old man, this guy doesn't play by the rules. Are you deliberately pretending to be confused with me? The old man's tone was cold. His hand was already reaching for the pistol behind his back. It's really boring. So tell me, where is this new Ghost Rider? Su Chen's smile began to fade and she looked at the old man in front of her. Su Chen could feel the hot breath of hellfire in his body. Although the amount is small, it is quite pure. If nothing else, this old man is the Ghost Rider of the previous generation. This new Ghost Rider has come here to seek refuge. Are you here to find me? A hoarse voice sounded, and in another room, a Ghost Rider with a big white skull and a bald head appeared. In this corner of the room that was not illuminated, he successfully transformed into Ghost Rider. That's right, it's you. Su Chen smiled and looked at the older generation Ghost Rider. If this Ghost Rider takes action, he probably won't be able to defeat him if he doesn't show some real skills today. Then, come on, Johnny the evil spirit said, getting ready to attack. At this time, the old man suddenly stretched out his hand and stopped Johnny to tell him to calm down. Are you here to avenge yesterday? The old man said calmly. What happened last night was a misunderstanding. The old man roughly knew Su Chen's identity when he saw Su Chen's robe. Yes and no. Su Chen did not hide his thoughts. The main goal of going out this time is the witch. If Johnny is captured, it will be easier to find the witch. Johnny is a minion of the devil and has a special perception of the devil, so he is a tool man. It has to be said that the devil's method of concealing his figure is really clever. Even Su Chen has been in New Mexico for 2 days and has not found any trace of the cobweb horse. This guy is definitely scared, otherwise why would he be so cowardly? In fact, the witch heart demon doesn't want this. After all, there is an old father who is more skillful. If his whereabouts are not arranged secretly, he will be taken back to hell the next day. Enjoy the torture. As long as you're not here to fight, that's fine. The old man said calmly. As expected of someone who has seen the world, he is calm in everything he encounters. He can still be of some use to me, so I won't rule out using a stronger one, Su Chen said. Then try. I will not succumb to the devil, not even the black magician, Johnny said angrily. Quote question mark question mark question mark. I'm a black magician, Su Chen said doubtfully. This was the first time someone had said that to him. Even if you are quibbling, you can't hide the evil aura and dark energy on your body. I can see it even from thousands of miles away, Johnny said fiercely. His empty eyes seemed to see through Su Chen. If looks could kill, Su Chen would have died countless times. I see. Su Chen finally understood. This dark energy is probably from the Ancient One. After all, the Ancient One is fighting Dormammu for 300 rounds. Having absorbed a lot of dark energy, there's nothing wrong with thinking of the Ancient One as a black magician, but he's also busy saving the world. Feel the holy light, purify. After knowing the reason, Su Chen immediately performed a purification process on himself to purify the dark energy contaminated in his body. No wonder the Ghost Rider came to trouble him as soon as he entered New Mexico. Ghost Rider felt the holy power wash away the impurity on Su Chen's body. At the same time, he also saw Su Chen brushing Icarus and Phil Coulson respectively. How is it possible? Why would a black magician possess the holy light? Johnny was puzzled. Kid, you are still too young. Don't believe too much in Ghost Rider's eye of judgment. Even people with evil powers are not necessarily bad people, just like your teacher, right, young magician? The old man said to Johnny seriously. It turns out that you, old man, are still acquainted with the Ancient One. I'm sorry, I'm disrespectful. Young magician, I was a policeman when I was young. As a senior policeman, I still have a way of judging people's abilities, and I won't be so superficial. The old man was still drinking coffee calmly, with a calm expression. Since the old man is so polite, I won't beat around the bush. After saying that, Su Chen looked around, seemingly looking for something. Soon Su Chen found what he was looking for. I saw him walking over and picking up a shovel. The contract of Saint Fanganza is here. It's so well hidden. This thing is so hidden. How is that possible? How did you find it? The old man's eyes widened suddenly, and the coffee in his hand spilled all over the floor. You have to know that in order to hide this thing well and not be discovered by the devil, he didn't know how much thought he spent and how much hair he lost before he came up with such a perfect hiding place. No one, or even a demon, would have thought that something so important could come from cleaning a graveyard with a shovel all day long. It's not scientific at all. Magic. I guessed it. Maybe I have a connection with this contract. Su Chen was really telling lies, and even protested against the contract. Quote. Old man, you want to take away the contract? The old man suddenly stood up with a serious look on his face, and there seemed to be some hellfire in his hand. Why do you want to stop me? After Su Chen said this, he rolled up the contract again and put it in his portable space. After the old man betrayed Mephisto, the Lord of Hell, the power of Ghost Rider was also taken away from him, and the remaining power could only allow him to transform once. If we really want to fight, the last transformation will probably be brought forward. Then take it. The old man sighed and lay back on the ground like a salted fish. Quote. You just let it go. Su Chen was already prepared to crack down on counterfeiting, but this is the result. Take the contract away. This thing should not have been placed with me in the first place, but should have been placed in the hands of someone who can really handle it. For more than 100 years before this, I only kept it temporarily. The old man stared at he glanced at the contract and said with a complicated expression. I originally thought I was waiting for this child, but I didn't expect that I would give it to you in the end. I hope you can handle it properly. Johnny heard that he was slandering himself, and what he wanted seemed to be in the hands of his enemy. Two flames burst out of his nostrils involuntarily. After listening to the old man's words, Su Chen didn't look at him tit for tat at first. Old man, I have helped you deal with such a big trouble. Now you can live your own life. That's not necessarily true. The ID on your companion seems to be genuine, right? The old man suddenly stared at Phil Coulson and said. I used to be a policeman, but now I'm retired. I don't want to go to the station to drink tea anymore. Su Chen smiled and said, how come? Leave it to me now. If it causes trouble for you, I will blow up their headquarters. Phil Coulson on the side looked uncomfortable, neither standing nor sitting. I see that you are getting older and there is no need to ride a horse anymore. Why don't you just leave it to me to raise it? I will definitely raise it for you to be fat and white. Hey. After Su Chen finished speaking, he came forward like a friend of 10 years. Quote. Go away, that's my horse. Can anyone else ride your horse? The old man couldn't hold it in any longer and roared loudly. I successfully got the contract. The next day, Su Chen took the three of them on a journey to find the inner demon of the early witch. The only change is the addition of Ghost Rider Johnny. At the moment Johnny has been used as a radar for Su Chen to find traces of the evil spirit. Johnny, you can't go out in the sun during the day. Why don't you bring an umbrella? Su Chen still had a grudge against Ghost Rider, so he took the initiative to chat with him. Now Johnny was stunned by the question and couldn't hold back a word for a long time. Well, I don't like turning into Ghost Rider. Since Johnny is awakening, there are many things that are out of control in Ghost Rider. The Ghost Rider who felt Su Chen's evil aura that day took the initiative to take him there. Then it evolved into self-preservation. Originally, he could have found the evil spirit yesterday, but in the end he perceived a greater evil. All serious matters were forgotten. Oh, that's right. Su Chen then asked again, will you want to go to the toilet after transforming into Ghost Rider? Suddenly, Johnny's mind filled with images of a flaming skull going to the toilet. Like a flamethrower. Gee, I don't know, let's get down to business, okay. If it weren't for daytime, Johnny would probably burn Su Chen to death right now with his anger. He hates it so much. It's daytime now, you can't change your body, and you can't find the witch heart demon, so how about we go meet another second-generation official? Although Su Chen cannot perceive the inner demon, he does know the location of Thor, another second-generation official. Although his divine power has been sealed by his father, his life level is there. Don't make it too easy to determine the location. Even the people of the Kamar-Taj monastery designed a set of orientation perception spells specifically for the Asgard people. Otherwise, how could it be possible to locate Odin's location with Thor's hair in Thor 3? So the four of them embarked on a journey to find Thor. On the other side, after saying goodbye to Su Chen and his party, the old man still stayed in the cemetery to sweep the graves. At the moment, he felt relaxed physically and mentally. The reason was that Danae's responsibility was more important than relief, and he felt particularly happy. However, his good mood was soon broken by a gust of evil wind. Even with his eyes closed, the old man could feel the disgusting and evil aura inside. Devil, you shouldn't be here. The old man looked at the demon in front of him warily. A young man with a pale complexion looked like a legendary vampire, and behind him there were three men who were the same demons as him. The son of Mephisto, the Lord of Hell, the witch-hearted demon. My guess is accurate, but I don't like this title very much. You should call me the future Lord of Hell, witch-heart demon. My payment Mephisto has ruled hell for too long and he is old. His thoughts have become rigid and conservative, so the master of hell should have been replaced long ago. And only I, the witch-heart demon, can make hell more powerful. Quote. The inner demons surrounded the old man and told all this. Do you think you can really deal with your father Mephisto? The old man mocked mercilessly. I didn't even know how much I weighed, so I just wanted to kill my old father. Absolutely, I have all the power of my father, and I don't have his weaknesses. If my father hadn't mastered all the power of hell, I would have overthrown his rule long ago. Now as long as I get that contract, I can build my own hell on earth. Wu Shinmo said confidently, as if he could get everything with just a few clicks. The world is so beautiful, but there are so many bad things. My old father is really pitiful. He couldn't come to the world in his true form, so he gave this beautiful world to a weak mortal in vain. You give me the contract, and I will gain the power of hell, and then devour the whole world. Come and help me, and I will give you power. Witch-heart demon, you are really conceited, stupid, arrogant, and greedy. Almost all human derogatory words can be found in you. You are far behind my father. The old man said calmly. If the earth could be swallowed up so easily, Mephisto would have done it long ago. I really don't know if you, a fledgling Trask, are born a calf and are not afraid of tigers, or are you just born with a brain-dead brain? The old man thought it was the latter. After all, he was under great pressure from competition and Mephisto was cunning and suspicious. If he had given birth to a son who was smart and powerful, Mephisto would probably have strangled him to death. The devil was already immortal and had no need of a successor. What you play every day is to develop the game and add spice to your life. So don't be too smart. It's easy to find things to do for yourself. Therefore, what Wu Shinmo said is still suspected of being bragging. How can someone have all the power of his father and not have any shortcomings? Mephisto is not a good man, so he wouldn't get one for himself despite such a good thing. In the old man's opinion, the witch heart demon came to Earth because he probably couldn't survive in hell. After knowing the existence of the contract. So he took his little brother to the human world to have a try, and if he won, he would get entrepreneurial funds. In the future, he would return to hell and compete with Mephisto for the control of hell. Lost. There is no losing in the eyes of the witch heart demon. Give the contract to me now, give it to me. Give it to me. The witch heart demon roared and kicked the old man one after another. However, the old man just smiled mockingly at the kicks and hits from the witch heart demon. He was the previous generation Ghost Rider, and he didn't care at all about this kind of physical torture. The final fire of hell would be given to the second generation ancestor in front of me, which would be a huge loss. I tolerated it after thinking about it. As for his soul, a soul that had been integrated with Ghost Rider, even with the methods of the witch heart demon, there was no way at all. The contract is not with me. The old man spoke directly. Su Chen had no intention of hiding the fact that he had a contract. He just wanted the witch heart demon to find him. So the old man directly told him about the contract with Su Chen. And by the way, he also told Su Chen's current location. There is no destination for seducing the other party, so how do you find the other party? A young man took away the contract. He is a mortal. They are with the new Ghost Rider. You should be able to perceive his existence after inheriting your father's power. Seeing as my father's minions have been broken, even a mortal can't stop him. Oh, I forgot that you are a mortal now, a Ghost Rider without supplies. Ha ha ha. The witch heart demon heard the best news in the past few days. Let's go, Wu Shinmo shouted to his 3 men. A burst of black smoke passed by, and the 4 people disappeared. In a small town near where Mjolnir fell, a car stopped and 4 people of different ages walked out of it. Let's go in and take a look. After saying this, Su Chen walked into a fast food restaurant. Phil Coulson and Johnny looked at each other and expressed helplessness. Can an alien prince really be found here? Following the perception of playing, Su Chen immediately saw a man with muscular body, beard and long hair. At the same time there were 2 beautiful young girls. There is also an old man. Thor, this man had a colorful life, either getting into trouble or on the way to it. If his own father hadn't protected him and his younger brother loved him, he would probably be dead by now. Although Thor's body is now immortal, he still has the spirit of Asgard in him. It was just sealed by Odin. How did you get up to the clouds? Why are you still so hungry after eating so much pizza? Daisy Louise, a young and lively girl, asked. Because he is a strong man. Su Chen walked up to Thor's back. Who are you? Thor couldn't help but look at Su Chen and asked warily. Although his divine power has been sealed, his fighting instinct is still there, and he can still sense the strong. In his perception Su Chen, extremely dangerous. Su Chen extended his hand in a friendly manner. It's nice to meet the mythical character, Thor. I'm Su Chen. Nice to meet you. Do you know him? The 2 girls exclaimed. This man touched the porcelain twice in a row, ate, drank, and clothed himself. Soon he would touch the eldest sister's head. If it weren't for scientific research, good figure. He had been kicked out by the doctor a long time ago. I definitely know him. Most people on Earth know him. Su Chen took the initiative to shake Thor's hand and explained. And when Phil Coulson and Johnny saw this scene, brother, you are miserable. He is really Thor in Norse mythology. Su Chen looked at the stunned people. We are not his patients. Although this guy is a little naive, he is really a god. Su Chen didn't need to explain. Thor then began to introduce his own experience. The co-author was really thrown to the earth for testing. At this time, Phil Coulson finally understood the cause and effect. Everyone present could see clearly, but Thor was the only one who couldn't see clearly. Will Asgard really be given to him? Phil Coulson couldn't help but tugged on Su Chen's clothes and asked. This might be the best choice. Give Asgard to his brother, who will probably invade the earth the next day. If he becomes king, the most he can do is kill half of their own people. Su Chen couldn't help but complain. He still has a sister, or if you give it to him, then the entire 9 realms will probably be gone. Quote ? I have a sister. Thor grabbed Su Chen and wanted to hear his explanation. I don't know, go ask your dad. Su Chen pushed Thor away. With his mortal body, he couldn't resist Su Chen's power. Thor, although I don't know why your father sent you to Earth, have you ever thought about why he did this? I think all fathers in the world should be the same. They hope that their children will become better than themselves, more mature and stronger. Phil Coulson couldn't help but remind him, after all, this is an alien prince, if this is not handled well. It was not as simple as a diplomatic incident. That was a foreign ball incident. He is not the director and is not skilled in handling business, but helping others should improve their favorability. But the next moment he regretted it and couldn't help hiding his face. No, Thor retorted, my dues are due. He is old and has lost his original ambition to assess the 9 kingdoms. Faced with the provocation of the giants of Jotunheim, he still tolerates it and has no intention of starting a war. For this reason, he even deprived me of my divine power in order to prevent me from attacking Jotunheim, the kingdom of giants of Jotunheim, and demoted me to Midgard, the earth you are talking about. Quote. Hearing such words, Phil Coulson was speechless and couldn't help but think about it. If I were Odin, I would also banish you, the war maniac and right-winger, to the mortal world. And he was not sure whether the guy in front of him, who had lost his divine power for a while, would turn to attack the earth after defeating Dunheim. Judging from Thor's current thinking, this possibility is not impossible, but rather very high. If he didn't dare, Phil Coulson would want to strangle Thor right now and nip this dangerous person in the bud. Su Chen asked calmly, so, if you become the king of Asgard, how will you be such a king? Definitely send an army to attack Jotunheim and teach the giants of Jotunheim a profound lesson. Thor blurted out without thinking, and his domineering aura suddenly surged. The irritated little fan-girl Daisy's eyes were full of love. She turned her head and stared intently at the 2 chest muscles that made the short sleeves bulge. Then what? Su Chen asked calmly. Then, Thor hesitated before saying, maintain the peace of the 9 kingdoms. That's it. What? Do you have anything else to add? Thor asked strangely. Then he turned around and scanned the crowd, only to find that they all looked disapproving. Thor felt angry and couldn't help but said, as a king, shouldn't I wipe out the rebellion and give the world a stable and peaceful environment? How do you define rebellion? Phil Coulson couldn't help but retort. You know, there are hundreds of countries on the earth. If they start a war just because of the provocation of other countries, the earth will have been destroyed several times. Thor's expression froze when he heard this, and he held it in for a long time before he finally said, your world is so complicated. If you still have this kind of personality that explodes at the drop of a hat, I guess you won't be able to get your divine power back. Looking at this fool, Su Chen thought that there were still many treasures in Asgard's treasure house. So reminded, Thor, if I help you find your divine power, how about I take a treasure from Asgard's treasury? Su Chen looked at Thor calmly, and the atmosphere gradually became silent. After thinking for a long time, Thor not only realized that when my father dies and I succeed, the treasure trove will also be his. After thinking about it, deal. Phil Coulson hid his face again after seeing this. How did Odin raise this idiot? In a temporary base in the wilderness, Phil Coulson completed the integration with the S.H.I.E.L.D. employees here. Su Chen and his party went straight to the center of the temporary base, where Mjolnir was located. As Thor approached, a thick layer of dark clouds had gathered in the sky. From time to time there were some lightning flashes. The hammer is still in place, and there is no problem. There is an unknown magnetic field around the hammer. This energy, boom. Before Phil Coulson could finish speaking, there was a thunder. It can affect the weather. Just like just now, the town is still sunny, but here it is covered with dark clouds. No one can pick up the hammer yet. Phil Coulson immediately shared the information in his hand. My hammer is not something that ordinary people can pick up, Thor said proudly. The head of Mjolnir's hammer is forged from the center of the planet that is about to decline, and the handle is made of wood from the world tree. It can be attached with a large amount of magic and energy, and the hammer also has the spell bonus of the father of God Odin, making it impossible for creatures not recognized by the hammer to lift and use it. Even Odin wielded Mjolnir in his youth. It is still a family heirloom. My father has used it, my sister has used it, I have used it, and the 3 princesses have broken without using it. To sum up, the third prince is not biological. Okay, you go get your hammer and find your power. Su Chen quickly said. How arrogant Thor is now, how bad he will be later. Thor smiled sideways, his eyes crinkling with laughter, not to mention how happy he was now. Thor held the handle of the hammer with both hands, while Phil Coulson looked solemn and felt tangled in his heart. Thor thrust hard, but the hammer didn't budge. Thor's face stiffened. My posture must be wrong, let me change my posture. Thor's center sinks, mobilizing the strength of the whole body. Ah, Acridine, yeah, father, broken sound. Thor knelt down helplessly in the heavy rain, unable to cry, and everyone had mixed emotions. Phil Coulson breathed a sigh of relief quietly, but his heart became more entangled. How should he arrange Thor? Ha 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 ha, only Su Chen laughed heartlessly among the people present. How can you not sign in for such a famous scene? The system is here to sign in. Ding, congratulations to the host for getting the weapon, Frostmourne. Frostmourne, it's really sad, but I'm not sad. After taking a closer look at the properties, I discovered that it was actually a semi-artifact with ice properties. And has the ability to drain the life from those killed. And absorb the souls of all holders except Su Chen. It's equivalent to the vampire knife in the game. With Frostmourne, when will the fire joy come out? It will be very nice. Okay Thor, it doesn't matter if you can't hold the hammer, I will help you get your power back. Su Chen patted Thor on the shoulder. It's just a hammer. Thor glanced at Su Chen with a fierce look. If I remember correctly, he laughed the most just now. You can take it if you can. My father has set a ban. If you don't have a righteous heart, you won't be able to take this hammer. Thor said to Su Chen not to be outdone. Do you think I can't do it? Su Chen also lost his temper. Isn't it Odin? Come to Earth and I'll arm wrestle with him. Maybe he can't be beaten now, but now it's just a restriction set by divine power, so there's no reason why he can't be beaten. I'll try it now and let you see my righteous heart. Su Chen thinks that he might have a heart of justice. Maybe I really have. Su Chen put his hand on Mjolnir, and when Mjolnir didn't react, he immediately used his strength. It can be clearly seen that Mjolnir is not shaking at all. It seems that you are not very good either. The eldest brother, let alone the second brother, laugh at the same pace. Ha ha ha. Thor didn't miss this opportunity and came back with a taunt. Sure enough, Odin did something. Or are you, Odin, denying my justice? Su Chen frowned. It is no exaggeration to say that Su Chen's strength can almost effortlessly grab a mountain. But this hammer seems to have a mysterious power that tightly locks the hammer in place. This must be divine power, it seems a bit miraculous now. It's easy to think about it. As a god king, if he can bring the hammer to Earth so generously, there will naturally be few people in the 9 realms who can take away this hammer. Those who can pick it up may not necessarily be valued. In the final analysis, this hammer is tailor-made for the people of Asgard. In fact, Odin had another consideration when he was thrown to the earth. That is, Thor has almost offended other forces in the 9 realms if he throws it somewhere. It's not a question of whether to exercise or not, it's a question of whether you can survive. Can't you do it? Phil Coulson sounded a little disappointed. In its view, this is equivalent to a collision between the forces of the Earth and the forces of the universe. It would be fine if the Earth won, but if not, then they would have to carefully consider how to handle diplomatic relations. He has seen Su Chen's power before. If the opponent is stronger than Su Chen, it is simply unimaginable. Don't jump to conclusions so quickly, you haven't exerted your strength yet. Su Chen said. Since it can't be picked up easily, let's waste some mana. Can dead man survive being urinated? Magical purification, removing the abnormal state. Magical power, huge increase in power. Explosive energy, comprehensive improvement of physical attributes. Strengthen, sharpen, attribute increase. Quote. At this time, various forbidden spell level spells were applied to Su Chen's body. Thor was frightened and his legs weakened. If you don't know, when did Midgard come up with such a powerful magician? Since I can't pick it up easily with force, I will use magic to lift it upright. With the blessing of various spell buffs, Su Chen can now say that my power is the strongest. When the forbidden curse spell is activated, no matter who sees it, it will be frightened. This hammer is an artifact, it can automatically identify its owner, right? But no matter what, there is a limit to the weight of the hammer, and there is also a limit to the divine power. After all, there is only one thing with unlimited weight, and that is a black hole. Although Asgard is also very technologically advanced, if they use a black hole as a hammer, then even Marvel and Asgard can go sideways. Please like and subscribe. Chapter 31. According to the plot explanation, Mjolnir is made of materials extracted from the core of the Death Star. It sounds very high-end, so let's change it to something easy to understand. When a fixed star dies, it will become a white dwarf, neutron star, or black hole, depending on its mass. White dwarfs are better, with 1 cubic centimeter weighing only a few dozen tons at most. A neutron star would weigh at least 100 million tons per cubic centimeter. If we look at the size of Mjolnir based on this value, it would be normal for ordinary people to find that Mjolnir cannot be lifted. But unfortunately, this is not true for Su Chen, because he can use magical power to directly increase his power to 1 trillion tons. A being who can arm wrestle with the nearly full Hulk. The shoulder can resist the country. I'm talking about the current Su Chen. Stand away, Su Chen said, taking a deep breath and grabbing Mjolnir's handle with both hands. As Su Chen exerted force, the ground began to tremble violently, as if a violent earthquake had occurred. At the moment, everyone seemed to feel that the ground was sagging slightly. Su Chen had no extra thoughts to protect the ground around the temporary base, causing the ground to be shattered by Su Chen's power. As a result, the entire base was sinking. And this is actually secondary, because when everyone climbed to a high place, they finally found that the ground in their field of vision was constantly exploding and sinking. These cracks even extended to an exposed stone mountain, which directly caused the mountain to collapse and fall into ground. Boom! There was a loud noise of huge amounts. It was a dormant small volcano 30 kilometers away. It suddenly erupted. At the moment, Phil Coulson could only be thankful that New Mexico, the United States, was in the western desert. It was famous for its vast land and sparsely populated areas. Even such a devastating scene would not have much impact. Rumble. Mjolnir also began to shake violently, and this time Odin's magic did not take effect. In Hammer's shallow consciousness, he was thinking, I've seen you use magic, why do you still use brute force? Can't we just use magic to break the restriction? Su Chen. Sorry, I was sleeping when the teacher was teaching this knowledge point. At this time, when Mjolnir was shaking, the stirring of dark clouds in the sky began to become more and more violent, and there were countless thunder and lightning faintly gestating, just like the terrifying Sea of Thunder. MMP, if you have the ability, your mass exceeds 1 trillion tons, otherwise you will give it to me. Su Chen gritted his teeth and said, and as the power and magic output increased again, it was like the last straw that broke the camel's back. From the time Mjolnir was created to this day, he was finally lifted up with real brute force. Boom, boom. The moment Su Chen lifted it up, the Sea of Thunder in the sky seemed to be completely enraged. A thunder thicker than a human and roaring like a thunder dragon poured down towards Su Chen. In the face of powerful magic resistance, these lightning bolts are more comfortable than electrotherapy. Bathed in the dazzling lightning, Su Chen seemed to see a luxurious palace in a daze, and on the bed of the palace, sleeping was a one-eyed man with white hair and beard. Su Chen saw the corner of the old man's mouth twitching. Odin. Seeing Su Chen lifting Mjolnir, Thor knelt on the ground. The high-spirited king who was about to be crowned was still mumbling with dull eyes. This is impossible. Why can you pick it up with brute force? Thor thought a lot for a moment. He had lost his honor, lost his strength, and even lost his most beloved little hammer. No, Mjolnir did not betray me. Yes, you picked him up with brute force. You have not been recognized. That's right. Thor seemed to be grasping the last straw and tried his best to quibble. No, 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 I have been recognized, he recognized me, and now I can easily use even a small amount of power. After saying that, Su Chen shook the hammer in his hand and threw it into the sky. And its relaxed look. Actually, it's not just me who can pick it up. There are even individuals who can pick it up. For example, Icarus can also pick it up. Su Chen is not bragging. If you know the number of people who picked up Mjolnir during Marvel's personal leave, Su Chen knows more than 10. After saying that, Su Chen threw Mjolnir to Icarus. Icarus held Mjolnir in his hands though hesitantly. But it can be clearly seen that Icarus did pick up Mjolnir. This undoubtedly gave Thor a critical blow. Suddenly I fell into deeper doubts about life. You must have broken the restrictions so she could pick it up. Thor roared. Today was undoubtedly the worst blow to his self-esteem. If Su Chen had worked harder, Thor would have fallen into self-doubt. The reason why Icarus can lift the hammer is similar to Vision. Because Vision is pure in heart. Mjolnir was cursed by Odin, and only those with noble character and pure hearts can pick it up. And Vision possesses the mind gem, has just been born, and has not been disturbed by the filth of the outside world, so it is pure and unsullied, so that he can lift Mjolnir. Icarus has just come into this world and has not yet been harassed by the big vat of society. He is quite cute. It is also a semi-mechanical angel life form, so it is not surprising that Icarus can use it. The curse has definitely not disappeared. If you don't believe it, try it yourself. After saying that, Icarus placed the hammer in front of Thor again. Thor stared at Mjolnir, finally made up his mind and touched Mjolnir with his hands. Hold tight. A moment, a long one. 2 moments, a long time. There was no movement, and Thor collapsed in front of Mjolnir. Isn't it immoral for us to do this? Phil Coulson walked behind Thor, supported him, and said to Su Chen. He has to go through a mental journey, and this little blow is not bad for him. He is the future god king of Asgard. If he can't bear this, then it's better to let his younger brother succeed him. Su Chen said calmly. If he hadn't felt that Thor's sealed power had become stronger, he would have been a little panicked. He was also afraid of doing this himself. Odin was furious, and then he wore the destroyer and slashed directly at Su Chen. You must know that Odin puts on the destroyer and can directly confront the people of the Marvel gods. You still have to be cowardly when it's time to be coward. And Su Chen is also doing it for Thor's good. He promised Thor to find his power, but he didn't promise Thor to find his hammer. The power Su Chen talks about is the real power of Thor, the kind that doesn't require a hammer. In the following time, Thor was still doubting his life. During this period, Phil Coulson racked his brains to think of etiquette to use to entertain the troubled prince of Asgard. At the same time, experts from Norse mythology were urgently summoned, hoping to learn some of the customs and habits of Norse mythology from ancient literature. Phil Coulson, do you need to make these preparations? Su Chen looked at everything in front of him and said to Phil Coulson. An infantry and armored unit is surrounding this area, and a 2-year flight squadron is waiting to take off at the airport at any time. And the most important thing is that you have an aircraft carrier fleet in the Pacific just for missile strikes at any time. Are you sure you are not planning to attack me? Su Chen looked at the firepower. It is enough to fight a medium to large war. Not only that, there are 3 missile bases at General Luo Base in the south that are on standby, and 3 nuclear warheads have been installed and are on standby at any time. O_O. Su Chen, you don't understand us. We don't have as much power as you. For ordinary humans, this is our first active contact with an alien civilization. We must prepare for the worst and not be careless. Quote. And you also said that danger might come, didn't you? Phil Coulson calmly replied that for him, the continuation of humankind is obviously a higher priority. Seeing this, Su Chen also began to regret that he had told Phil Coulson that the destroyer might come. On the other side, Loki came to Earth. He walked to Thor's side and stood in front of Thor, who was now deeply shocked. Loki, what are you doing here? Did something happen? Thor looked at Loki with blank eyes, unable to hide his sadness. Seeing this, I couldn't help but feel a little pain in my heart. But Loki still reluctantly said it. Father, he's dead. What? Thor's face showed pain, he was at a loss, and he was speechless for a moment. Your expulsion and the threat of war are too much for him to bear. Quote. Don't blame yourself. I know you love him, and I tried to persuade him, but he couldn't listen. He knew that you could no longer pick up Mjolnir and put it on Earth. Now the burden of the throne rests on myself. Loki thought to himself, my father still loves you, and he would rather stay on Earth than give me the hammer. You must know that you don't even have a decent artifact. The only one is a dagger different from the class. Thinking of this, he felt even more that his father was partial. Can I still go home? Thor's eyes had lost their luster now. Clearly lost hope in life. I'm sorry, Loki said to Thor with a look on his face. I understand, I'll leave Asgard to you, go back. Loki's figure disappeared in front of Thor the next moment. As the god of deception, Loki has no idea how to deceive his naive brother. That's easy to get, there is no pressure, but seeing Thor being deeply hit, he still couldn't bear it. Loki used magic to hide his whereabouts to see Thor, and Su Chen also saw it. After all, Su Chen is an expert in wheel magic. It is a magic that cannot be broken in the eyes of others. In his eyes, it was about the same level as a kindergarten textbook. An enemy is coming, let me take a look, Su Chen said to everyone who was playing mahjong and other devils. Speaking of these demons, are they lost? Why haven't they come yet? Is it because the temptation of the contract is no longer enough? Before Phil Coulson could ask, Su Chen had already left the room and walked towards where Mjolnir was. At this moment, Loki came out of the room and did not return to Asgard immediately. Instead, he came to Mjolnir, stretched out his hand to hold the hammer handle, and pulled it hard. It seems that you are not the one who gets the recognition. At some point, Su Chen appeared 5 meters behind Loki. Loki turned his head and said in surprise, can you see me? Are you hiding your whereabouts? This answer actually stopped Loki. I've heard that there are some special people on Earth, but it doesn't seem to be a rumor. Loki seems to have read some introductions about Earth in books. But as a mortal, if you dare to despise God, then you must die. Loki suddenly appeared behind Su Chen, took out a dagger, and stabbed Su Chen in the lower back. At the same time, the illusion standing not far away slowly disappeared. Without looking back, Su Chen grabbed Loki's wrist with his backhand and threw him away. Loki flew upside down involuntarily, smashing through the entire base in an instant and landing on the ground 100 meters away. Su Chen stepped on the moon and landed not far from the opponent's head, saying disdainfully, "Hey, this is the first time I've seen such a weak god. Asshole, you will pay for your actions." Loki stood up and attacked Su Chen again with a dagger. Su Chen flashed and appeared beside Loki like lightning. He grabbed his wrist and circled it halfway, then smashed it to the ground with all his strength. Immediately, he raised his arm again and swung it to the ground on the other side. Boom, boom, boom. A series of constant roars sounded from around me. Su Chen summoned all the strength in his body, swung Loki's body, and hit him from left to right about 10 times. 2 4 to 5 meter deep holes were made in the ground on both sides before he finally stopped. At this moment, Loki was lying quietly in the pit, motionless, with more air coming out and less air coming in. He is a magician, but he actually wants to learn how to do sneak attacks as an assassin. You must know that Odin's wife is known as the first witch magician in the 9 realms. Loki, who inherited his mother's legacy, is at this level. It's worth pondering whether he really doesn't want to teach, or whether teaching him is useless. Not far away, everyone looked at Su Chen in stunned silence, their heads in confusion. What if they were said to be evenly matched? Where is the promised overwhelming force, every day and every day? Is the person lying in the pothole really the god from mythology? How could it be so weak? For such a weak god, Kr Sen prepared so many weapons and equipment, which makes him look stupid. But if Loki is called a god, then what should Su Chen, who beat him until he was unable to fight back, be called? God. Is this the power of the earth, the power of a little magician of the earth? Unfathomable, Phil Coulson exclaimed. It's better to support such a powerful earthling. Heimdall, the patron saint of Asgard, stared at the battered Loki, speechless and a little unbearable. I was thinking in my mind, should I lower Bifrost immediately and bring him back, lest he continue to stay on Earth and be embarrassed? The evil god Loki, known as the god of lies and the god of mischief, is not good with force but with his mind. It's understandable if a head-on fight doesn't work. Facing Su Chen, the illusion that Loki was proud of had no effect at all. His strength, speed, and skills were all at a disadvantage. Therefore, being abused became a matter of course. When she was watching a movie in her previous life, Su Chen felt that the scene where the Hulk smashed Loki was very touching. Now that she is doing it with her own hands, dragging a god, and smashing him wildly, the feeling is not ordinary. That's enough, Su Chen. Thor ran over from a distance, jumped into the pit, helped Loki up, and said to Su Chen, please let him go. After all, he is already the new king of Asgard. Seeing that Loki had a mortal body and was still standing in front of him, Loki couldn't help but feel warm in his heart. But, Loki still pushed Thor away. Loki still looked arrogant and had a noble aura. If eyes could kill, Su Chen would have died countless times. As Thor and the third princess, what is Loki's real strength? They are like two little strong guys who can't be beaten to death, but their hitting ability is top-notch. The recovery ability is super strong. So Loki obviously has the physique of a battle tank, and finished as a magician. Then he was completed by himself as an assassin. In fact, Thor has also ruined himself. They Asgardians have divine power, something similar to mana. Their ability is that the older they are, the stronger their divine power becomes. So if they Asgardians had the time gem, they would have unified the universe long ago. This shows that they are suitable for taking the magician route. Thor didn't believe in evil, so he accidentally messed up his skills and became such a fool. Loki knew that he couldn't beat Su Chen today, so he struggled to stand up and shouted to the sky. Heimdall, open Bifrost. Immediately, a storm vortex suddenly appeared in the sky, faintly revealing colorful lights. In the blink of an eye, the light fell on Loki and carried him back to Asgard. Su Chen immediately left Bifrost's envelope. When it comes to world-destroying treasures in Marvel, Bifrost's name is definitely on the list. In other words, people in Asgard usually use them as means of transportation. Secretly, he is actually a star-killing weapon. Destroying the Earth is a matter of minutes. In the movie, Loki wanted to use him to destroy Jotunheim, but Thor stopped him. Moreover, the apparent means of transportation is also a strategic weapon. For example, if you are fighting with someone, and suddenly the other party calls a group of people, how do you fight? But when Su Chen saw Loki's fierce eyes, Su Chen was frightened. If you dare to look at me like that, I'm going to cause you some trouble. At this time, Su Chen had to take out the special items that he had not used for many years. Open black lens bracket male-female hormone medicine close black lens bracket. From One Piece embryo Ivankov Superman type devil fruit, hormone fruit. Through injection, the target woman can be transformed into a male, or a male into a female. Originally, Su Chen was prepared if Iron Man Tony would gossip in his ears in the future. Just give this thing to him. Let him and the captain fall in love and kill each other properly. Su Chen remembers that there was a universe where Tony was a woman, and she eventually fell in love with the captain and got married. This ending seems okay. It can even be used by the captain. The picture is too beautiful to imagine. Tony, who was upgrading his armor at Stark Industries, couldn't help but feel a chill in his back. Akio, Little Pepper asked with concern, are you catching a cold? The armor can be improved at any time, don't tire your body out. Are you exhausted? Don't worry, I'll wait until you look good. Tony put down the tools in his hands and said to his assistant Pepper. Originally, Su Chen wasn't that evil. Who said the sign in stuff was so weird? Now it seems that the effect would be better if used on Loki. Let's see, Odin originally planned to use Loki to form an alliance between Asgard and Jotunheim to achieve permanent peace. This is the true meaning of Loki being born as a king. Odin originally planned to make Loki King Jotun and Thor the king of gods. The two were born to be kings and will always be together. But later Odin really regarded Loki as his own child. Now if Loki is turned into a girl, into a real third princess. If Loki still has Thor's feelings, will they fall in love and kill each other? It is estimated that it will evolve into a marriage between King Jotun and King Asgard. Truly become a family. It seemed that he could accidentally do something big, not only help Thor regain his divine power. It even helped him resolve a political crisis. Su Chen couldn't help but glance at Thor, who was in a depressed mood. Thor, I can't help you more than just a little bit. I'm in a big loss and I'm going to lose a precious item of mine. Thor is puzzled. So, you have to pay more. Don't you care that our best friend is banished? Loki is about to usurp power, Asgard is on the brink of war, and yet you can eat 4 boars, 6 pheasants, half a cow, and 2 barrels of beer. Looking at Volstagg, who was eating haste, the anxious Fandral finally couldn't help it anymore, rushed up and slapped the plate off his hand. Don't mistake my good appetite for indifference. Volstagg stood up angrily after being provoked. You two, stop. This situation is not the time for internal strife. Sif came over and stopped in front of the two of them. None of us know what we're really supposed to do, so it's time for us to go. You said you were looking for Thor. This is simply crazy. This is suicide, Fandral said. Loki was now the interim king, and for leaving Asgard without his orders, Loki branded them outright treason. Shish, be careful, maybe Heimdall is watching here now. Hogun reminded. Boom. The door opened at this moment, and a guard walked in. Heimdall wants to see you. It's over. 5 minutes later, Thor's 4 loyal followers came to Heimdall dejectedly. How dare you disobey the temporary King Loki's order and bring Thor back even on charges of treason? Heimdall stared at the 4 of them and asked. Yes, Sif said bravely, she was ready for the trial. But Heimdall's next answer surprised her. It's a great idea. Under the confused gazes of the 4 people, Heimdall slowly walked out of the teleportation area. I must be loyal to the king, so I cannot turn on Bifrost, but Bifrost sometimes has a very small chance of malfunctioning, such as incorrect transmission. As soon as Heimdall finished speaking, a dazzling rainbow beam appeared in the sky above Asgard. Naturally, such a conspicuous rainbow beam could not be hidden from Loki, who had just returned from Earth. With his intelligence, he could not see the fishiness in it. Although Heimdall claimed to be loyal to the king on the surface, he was obviously doing so in secret, and he might even have discovered his little actions secretly. As for the other party's purpose, Loki can naturally imagine it, which is to welcome his stupid Oni-chan back. There is even a very strong warrior in the lower realm, so he needs a helper. Come out, Destroyer. Seeing the Destroyer slowly lifting the seal and walking out of the light curtain, feeling the terrifying aura on his body, Loki, holding the scepter of Odin, smiled proudly. Destroy them all for me to take the throne and make sure my stupid brother doesn't come back. It's night, in this almost destroyed base. On a square table. 10,000, touch, 90,000. Su Chen touched the mahjong in her hand and constantly changed its position to prevent it from being seen by Ghost Rider Johnny's Eye of Judgment. And disrupting Phil Coulson's card counting. 90,000. No, can what I say really help Thor out of trouble? Phil Coulson said quietly to Su Chen. Today was another day when the witch heart demon didn't show up. Su Chen, who was bored, opened the portal. I went to Hong Kong Holy Place and got a pair of mahjong, and then started the bloody battle mode at the base. Mahjong contains a great truth. What we play is called missing one. Life is never perfect when encountering someone. There are always regrets. As the saying goes, chess is like life, and life is like chess. Although it has not started yet, the experience of life, that's when it started. Su Chen started his own deception method. Among them, Thor was thoughtful and felt that it made sense, but he could never find a reason to refute it. 10,000. Thor casually typed one he didn't want. What a nonsense. Su Chen laughed. Are you sick? You've touched 10,000 and still treated yourself to 10,000. Thor roared. I'm definitely not sick. This is called XX, twice. Su Chen explained. The target of the Who cards is definitely Thor, and the others have no value in the Who cards. You said Thor has no money. There is definitely no money now. I will have money when I return to Asgard. Thor now owes Su Chen 3 or 4 artifacts, not from Asgard's treasury, but from the custom-made artifacts he asked King Dwarf to create. Why would Thor agree to such a request? It was definitely Su Chen who deceived him and said, you can't go back anyway, so just have fun. If you don't return to Asgard, you don't have to give it. Thor thought about it, It's not a loss. If he wins, he can live a more prosperous life on Earth. So Su Chen began his journey of abusing vegetables. Phil Coulson feels distressed just looking at him. This idiot will definitely defeat Asgard in the future. At this time, an evil wind was blowing outside, and the wind was carrying the laughter of the devil. When the evil wind dissipated, the witch heart demon walked out of the darkness with his 3 men. I didn't expect you would hide in this place. It's really easy for me to find you. Wu Xinmo looked at Su Chen and said with a surprised look on his face. Wait a minute, are you saying it's hard to find? You can't perceive the existence of this guy. Su Chen was surprised when he heard it. Ghost Rider is equivalent to the existence of a light bulb. As a humble person, can't he see him? Humanity's trick is to hide in a place with such an unstable magnetic field. If there hadn't been so much movement during the day, I might not have discovered you. The witch heart demon said ferociously. It's Mjolnir that disturbed our perception. Johnny said calmly. Why didn't you say it earlier? Su Chen looked at Johnny and didn't know what to say to him. Why didn't you say something as important as this earlier? If I had told him earlier, I might not have been able to defeat Thor with so many artifacts. And Johnny's eyes seemed to be answering. I still remember you asking me if Ghost Rider would want to go to the toilet. Do you think I would be kind enough to remind you? My father's lackey, Mr. Ghost Rider, I will try to see if I can kill you. Following the words of the witch inner demon, black smoke ignited from Johnny's body. Johnny sensed danger and instantly ignited his body and transformed into Ghost Rider. Seeing Johnny being purified by the fire of hell, the witch heart demon also lost interest. I feel that the contract is in the hands of that mortal. Go and take the contract from that mortal's hands. As you command, my lord. The bald earth demon said as he strode towards Su Chen. As he continued to get closer to Su Chen, the soil he touched seemed to be alive, constantly attached to his body. After a while, the soil demon had turned into a 3-meter-tall rock giant. Call out the contract, otherwise I will let you die without a burial place. The perfect way to appear, the perfect domineering lines, but in exchange for the audience's caring eyes. Su Chen, who was speechless, suddenly stretched out his hand, grabbed the earth demon's arm, and then lifted the giant earth demon up like a rag doll. Bang, bang, bang bang. Looking at the earth demon who was smashed to pieces and slowly healing, Su Chen spoke with contempt. As an elemental demon, instead of learning good demon magic, you went to learn physics. It's really a shame for the devil. The ability of elementalization is in your hands. This idiot, earth demon, has underestimated the enemy again, and he still has to let us take action. Water demon and wind demon snorted coldly when they saw this. Behind him, a large amount of water vapor began to condense, and then turned into dozens of 1-meter-long ice strands with the blessing of the wind demon. Go! The water demon waved his hand, and all the icicles were shot out like sharp arrows from a bow. The cold air hit, and the ice blocked all Su Chen's escape directions, and the ice touched Su Chen's face. Although you two have learned magic, it seems your skills are not very good. Your level is so low. The ice arrows created by the water demon and the wind demon are not as powerful as the missiles that hit the face. If their ice magic has the characteristics of freezing soul, time and space, only then can Su Chen take it seriously. I got him. When Su Chen didn't pay attention to the moral corner, the earth demon's hands dug into the ground. Suddenly 2 hands appeared at Su Chen's feet and grabbed Su Chen's feet. Well done, earth demon. At the moment the wind demon laughed in the air. Along with his laughter, the evil wind condensed countless wind blades. My wind blade will cut you into pieces, and in the end not even the dregs will be left. Feng Mo laughed. Face Hayate, shield of seraphim, a magic shield dozens of meters wide stood in front of Su Chen, like an energy shield that directly blocked out the demon. You think you are Yasuo, the wind, and you want to use breathless slash. Haki, go to hell, Sinai. After Su Chen said this, he formed a long magic whip. Whip after whip was struck at the wind demon. I am an elemental life, invisible. You can't hurt me. What did you do to make my body disappear? I can't control myself. Ah! Feng Mo shouted in horror. As Su Chen whipped him with a whip, the wind demon disappeared after a few blows. HMPH, it's not to blame that the devil doesn't know that Haki specializes in elementalization. Unlock the achievement. Convulsion. Apart from the wind demon, the remaining 2 demons are easy to deal with. Hell Karma Fire. 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 Quote. With Su Chen's wireless combo of Hell Fire, the water demon was evaporated into air. The earth demon turned into ashes in pain, and even coal could not be made. Looking at the elemental life of these 3 artifacts, Su Chen couldn't help but sigh. There are a lot of good things in Mephisto Hell. It's a pity that such a magical power was lost in the hands of 3 idiots. Even if this ability is given to Phil Coulson, it will definitely create a strong person. What a pity. Phil Coulson, I really thank you. Enough, they are all trash, and I still need to do it myself. Seeing this, the witch heart demon finally became angry. He was not a patient demon to begin with. Mortal, you will be bombarded for yourself. Before Wu Shinmo finished speaking, he was hit in the face with the fire from hell. Along with the roar of huge amounts, the witch heart demon was directly smashed into dregs. Looking at the bloody pieces of meat on the ground, Su Chen frowned. You're not dead yet, come again. Hell Karma Fire. Hell Karma Fire. Boom boom boom. After throwing countless hellfire combos, the inner demon in front of Su Chen finally disappeared. However, a black and strange power suddenly filled the air, and clothes were automatically placed on Su Chen's body. Mortal, you dare to harm the great witch heart demon, I curse you. Your body will begin to decay, from skin to flesh, bit by bit, and your internal organs will be crawling with evil maggots. Your blood will turn into foul-smelling black water, and when your body rots into a ball of stinky mud, your soul will come into my hands and wail all day long. Quote. The black power also increased, and when it finally reached a certain amount, a pair of blood-red eyes suddenly opened. Curse. Su Chen saw that his body seemed to be broken by sulfur, which was constantly corroding him. However, these powers are isolated outside the skin. Because there are hundreds of millions of magical defense barriers engraved on the outside of the skin. If we rely on the power of this curse, it will take who knows how many years to really hurt Su Chen. Billions of years. Skill. Purification. Bew. A white light flashed and the abnormal state was released. The inner demon in the black mist was suddenly confused. What the hell is this? This was a curse he had unleashed with all his strength, and was it lifted so easily? Is my magic learned in vain? Your body is recovering well, but you look so pale. Is your body exhausted? Let me give you a healing spell. It will definitely refresh your mind. Looking at Wu Shinmo who had just recovered, Su Chen smiled and gave him a shot. Feel the holy light. A golden light shot out from Su Chen's body towards the witch heart demon. Ah! The witch heart demon groaned and knelt on the ground, black smoke rising from his body. Looking at how rosy your face is, let's do a few more rounds. As Su Chen finished speaking, several more rays of holy light came out. Anyway, with tears of the goddess around, blue is worthless. After several attacks, the witch heart demon lost his body again. However, the black smoke was still there, and then began to gather again, recondensing into a new witch heart demon. Stupid mortal, you think you can kill me like this? I am the regenerative healing factor. The inner demon sneered in the black mist. That guy doesn't have a soul in his body, so he won't die so easily. Ghost Rider walked over and said, watching the black aura overflow and regroup into the witch heart demon. As for Wu Shinmo, apart from looking weaker, it is impossible to tell that he has any other losses. At the moment, not to mention Su Chen and Ghost Rider, even Wu Shinmo himself looked at himself with expressions of disbelief, and randomly this disbelief turned into ecstasy. Quote. I am indeed an absolute regenerative healing factor. This is my power, a power that even that old guy can't do. Mortal, you, boom boom boom. Is that guy Mephisto spending all day in hell with nothing to do, trying to figure out how to create a villain? Although the witch heart demon is not originally powerful, this characteristic of his body is truly unparalleled. It's like an alien version of demi-humans. Not to mention it may be the passage from hell to other worlds, such as the elemental fruits of pirates. The immortality of demi-humans. Maybe they are all test subjects created by Mephisto. Thinking of this, Su Chen made up his mind to take a trip to hell while the Ancient One is dead. But such a moderate but suitable thug has other uses. Thor, don't you want to get your strength back? Come on, Defeat him and you can get your strength back. Are you Thor? The witch heart demon hesitated for a while and then saw Thor. The second generation gods also have their own circles. They meet all kinds of gods and fight to see who is stronger and so on. Thor knew who the other person was at first sight, and he knew that he was already a mortal. So he was always in the corner. Unexpectedly, Su Chen called him out. I didn't expect that the Earth still has the Prince of Asgard. You and Asgard also want to take a piece of the Earth's pie. We Asgardians don't need your hell to teach us how to do things. Give you a minute and go back to hell, otherwise you won't blame me for being rude. Thor became more powerful and pointed at the witch heart demon. Judging from the level of arrogance and full momentum, it is impossible to tell that he is Thor who has been demoted to the mortal world. Rather, it's more like Thor. Losing his powers has indeed made Thor improve a lot, at least now he has learned to use his brain. You won't rush up to someone with a hammer as soon as you meet them. Will the witch heart confess Thor? Definitely yes, after all, he is the son of the King of God, a man who has conquered all 9 realms. Besides, even he himself couldn't beat Thor. He had had a friendly exchange with Thor before, and ended up getting hammered. In addition, I am not as strong as Thor in the first place. After all, the thunder and lightning attributes are slightly inferior to the divine attributes in restraining demons. Ha ha ha, if I go, you actually believe it and are still scared. Su Chen's wild laughter came to Wu Shinmo's ears. For a while, Wu Shinmo didn't have a clear idea. This guy is immortal now. Are you so scared? Su Chen pointed at Thor. At the same time, the look in his eyes revealed, are you second generation god stupid? Su Chen, you don't want the artifact anymore. You did it on purpose. Did I steal your money or something? Are you going to harm me like this? Thor's heart beat faster than the heart of an emperor, and finally couldn't hold back any longer. There was a deafening sound. That's right, Thor was just blogging again. The bet is won and all is well. If you lose, we'll talk about it later. Unexpectedly, he was sold by his own people in the end. When Thor was almost desperate, a rainbow-colored Bifrost appeared in front of Thor. At this moment, 4 strange men in strange clothes and medieval warrior armor came directly in front of Thor. Su Chen glanced at it and realized that these people should be the goddess Sif and the 3 Asgard warriors, Hogun, Fandral and Volstagg. When watching a movie in her previous life, Su Chen had no memory of these guys who were better than supporting roles except Sif. Speaking of which, with the popularity of the Marvel series of movies, even War Machine, Falcon, and even the old man next door in Doctor Strange have become popular, but the 3 warriors of Asgard seem to be just 3 soldiers, and no one cares about them. Even in the second Thor movie, the actor who played Fandral was changed, but probably not many people knew about it. Jong Han was also bored in his previous life and only discovered this when he was browsing Tieba. One can imagine how low the presence of these 3 people is. However, the arrival of these 4 people gave Thor a shot in the arm. My friends, I'm so happy to see you. Thor hugged the 4 of them excitedly. He was as excited as a 200-pound child. Look how scared this kid is. Su Chen complained appropriately. The 4 of them were confused and doubtful, and Hill spoke. Who are you? Me. I am Thor's life mentor. I help him regain his divine power. You are here just in time, give him some good news. Su Chen waved his hand and explained. Thor, we are here to take you home, Asgard needs you. Hill, the only beauty among the 4, said to Thor affectionately. No, I'm homeless, I'm not qualified to take up Mjolnir, and my father died because of me. I accept my banishment. After saying that, the highlight in Thor's eyes disappeared, and a dark look appeared on his face. Hill held Thor's face. Thor, your father is still alive, but fell into a deep sleep. After all, there are always a few days when people get old. It was then that Thor realized that he had been deceived by his brother Loki. Hey guys, if you have time to chat here, why don't you take a look at the witch heart demon? Su Chen looked at their passionate chat and was really embarrassed to interrupt. So I just let the inner demon of the witch take over. This group of idiots didn't know where to choose a good place to chat. No wonder there were not many people left in Asgard in the end. This is curse. At this time, Hill looked at the black smoke surrounding the 5 people and couldn't help but exclaimed. Upon hearing this, Thor also looked at the black aura spreading on his body. The feeling of corrosion, pain, and festering flesh filled Thor's heart. Kill him quickly. The curse will disappear, otherwise Thor won't be able to survive for long now. The four warriors looked at each other and rushed towards the witch-heart demon with their weapons in hand. Thor was affected by the curse and was lying on the ground limply. Am I going to die? Hallucinations appeared in his eyes, and he seemed to see his father. His father is always so kind, and he has his most beloved brother Loki by his side. Do you like your brother? Su Chen's voice came softly to Thor's ears. It turned out that Su Chen had already walked to Thor's side. I like it, my brother is my family. I like every one of my family members. But your brother is from Jotunheim. Do you still like him? Su Chen said again. Really, that doesn't matter, I just know that he is my brother. Thor gasped and said to Su Chen. Is that so? Then are you willing to use your power to protect your brother until death? Su Chen's words seemed to have some kind of magic, and Thor couldn't help but be fascinated. But I don't have the power, how can I protect her? Thor sighed feebly. You have power, you have always had it. Aren't you going to be the king of Asgard? How can you replace your father if you don't surpass him? The power in you was only sealed by your father. He has not actually disappeared. As long as your power surpasses your father, you can break through the seal and gain power. And you and your father are just a little short of surpassing your father's belief. Su Chen used the method of big deception. The faith to protect my family, the people of Asgard, and my brother. Relying on the curse of the witch-heart demon, the restriction on Thor has been corroded and there is a slight gap. Su Chen, on the other hand, added a fire to the fire, allowing Thor awakening to belong to his own power. So without power, salary, how can you protect Asgard? Go and find it, your power has been sleeping in your body. Odin, who is currently in Odin's sleep in Asgard, feels the same way. If he doesn't help Thor lift the restriction now, Thor's life may be in danger. Although Su Chen's words before were not helpful in making Thor a virtuous king, they could make him a qualified warrior. Think of this. Forget it, let's cultivate it slowly in the future, that's it. Then Su Chen used illusion to destroy Asgard, Ragnarok. My mother died tragically and my father died of old age. The most important thing was that his brother had his head crushed and fell helplessly in front of him. No, the dark clouds are changing in the sky. A large number of clouds were stirred by the wind, and lightning was bred in them. Following Su Chen's guidance, lightning was drawn down and struck Thor's head one after another. Not only did he break through the restrictions set by Odin, but he also purified the curse. Thor awakening. Asgard's divine power is very magical. Not only can it accumulate over time, but even faith can strengthen it, thereby achieving the effect of becoming stronger. Mjolnir, who was dozens of meters away, suddenly flew over and flew towards Thor's hand. Fall. Su Chen trampled Mjolnir under his feet. Remember, you are not the god of hammers. The hammer only helps you control and concentrate your power. It is not the source of your power. Feel it with your heart. Tell me, what kind of god are you? Although Thor was very angry, he still said it bravely. I am Thor, for the honor of the northern gods. I am Thor, for the honor of the northern gods. In an instant, the dark clouds in the sky turned into a rotating storm, and a bolt of lightning shot out from the center and fell on Thor. At the same time, Thor's original clothes exploded, his armor and red robe slowly wrapped around his body, and he stood up again. Looking at the few people still fighting. At the moment the 4 Asgard warriors had been beaten back and forth. They are covered in curses and are constantly eroding their bodies. Hill was overjoyed when she saw Thor finally regaining his power. She was accidentally caught by the witch's heart demon and severely injured her with a blow. This girl is also bitter. Thor actually doesn't like her very much, at least not as much as Loki. If we proceed according to Su Chen's idea, it will be doomed to be fruitless. After all, even his first wife Su Chen sent him home. Will Su Chen still pamper you? Seeing Hill's hand, Thor couldn't hold back, and finally agreed to protect the people of Asgard. Without Mjolnir, Thor had no choice but to mobilize his own power of thunder and rush over, thinking of the inner demon. A huge bolt of lightning entered Wu Shinmo's body, and high-intensity electric current flashed, mixed with Wu Shinmo's screams. Is it over? San Xiaoqiang stared at Wu Xinmo. They were pleasantly surprised by Thor's strength. At the same time, there was also a feeling of weakness and powerlessness in my heart. This was the first time Thor had protected them like this. Suddenly a line of black smoke appeared behind Hill. Don't come over here. This woman likes you, right? She's in my hands now. The witch heart demon shouted to Thor. Now Hill was attacked by the witch heart demon. He was seriously injured and had no room to resist. Stop, Thor shouted, the lightning energy in his body exploding more and more. But when the witch heart demon saw Thor stop, he was slightly startled. He didn't expect that this reckless man actually stopped. The evil spirit held Hill's neck tightly. I don't have to kill Thor if he hands over the contract, otherwise I will kill him, then eat his soul, and let her soul be fertilized and tortured in hell. Ha ha ha. The witch heart demon said threateningly. Don't kill her. Thor also put away his power at this moment. Watching Su Chen Thor make a difficult decision. Su Chen, I know the contract is with you, I hope you can give it to me. Thor actually didn't ask for help from Su Chen. After all, his character was so bad that it caused him not only physical discomfort but also psychological discomfort. Definitely, add a custom artifact to dwarf. Su Chen said with a smile that the contract was of no use to him anyway, so he would just exchange it for something useful. Anyway, I won't lose anything. Make a deal. Thor agreed immediately. Okay, I'll count to 3 and we'll throw it out together. After Lu Su Chen finished speaking, he took out the contract from his arms. Okay, Witch Heart Demon said with a smile. Then I added another sentence in my heart, but I will kill you all after I get the power. Quote. 1 2 3. As the word, 3, fell, Thor had successfully received his ex-girlfriend. The Witch Heart Demon also quickly grabbed the contract. Haha, what a stupid mortal, now you will pay the price for your useless compassion. The Witch Heart Demon laughed and opened the contract and recited the incantation on it. Ouch, quack, 1,000 sinful souls rushed out of the contract, screaming, grinning, and cursing, after circling around the Witch Heart Demon. Then everything disappeared into the body of the Witch Heart Demon and completely integrated with it. I feel the power that keeps pouring out of my body. Boom. Before Wu Xinmo finished speaking, he was drowned by thunder again. However, the results don't seem to have changed much. Thor said angrily. He lost an artifact from this contract. Foolish Asgardian, how dare you underestimate the new Lord of Hell. As the Witch Heart Demon spoke, he opened his mouth and exhaled a large amount of black breath. While this black breath helped him resist thunder and lightning, it also grew larger and larger. In just a moment, the black skeleton turned into a skull, which had grown bigger than the mountain. It let out a hoarse laugh, then opened its big mouth and swallowed all the thunder clouds in one gulp. Okay, it's indeed much better than before, Su Chen said with some suspicion. But unfortunately, your opponent now is no longer Thor. Yes, your opponent is me now. While Su Chen attracted Wu Xinmo's attention, Ghost Rider had quietly walked around behind Wu Xinmo and then directly caught Wu Xinmo. Now there are 1,000 sinful souls in your body to burn. Ghost Rider said as the eye of judgment burning with hellfire lit up. Quote. Oh no, feeling the gaze of the eye of judgment, for the first time the Witch Heart Demon really smelled the threat of death. The Witch Heart Demon did not realize that his regenerative healing factor was very ridiculous. As the son of Mephisto, his power was not strong because he had no soul. But when he gained his soul, he lost the regenerative healing factor, and perhaps its birth was Mephisto's failed work on immortality research. This creates a very magical cycle, and Mephisto cannot be defeated without absorbing souls. He can't defeat the Ghost Rider after absorbing the soul. It's really over this time, Ghost Rider said, turning back into Johnny and turning to leave. But at this moment, a fire flashed in the eyes of Wu Xinmo, who had fallen to the ground, and suddenly stood up from the ground again. You guys really did a good job. Witch Heart Demon clapped his hands and looked at Ghost Rider and Thor with a smile on his face. How is this possible? Why aren't you dead yet? Johnny was stunned when he saw the Witch Heart Devil standing up again. Then burn his soul again. Johnny transforms into Ghost Rider again and captures the witch, and the hellfire spreads throughout the witch's body. But this time, Wu Xinmo didn't feel any discomfort at all. My knight, the fire of hell is the power I gave you. Are you sure you want to use my power to kill me? You are, Mephisto, Ghost Rider said, his voice becoming frightened. Hellfire, also known as soul fire, is a special kind of fire that can burn both the soul and the body. And this flame is only found in hell, and Ghost Rider's hellfire is actually given by Mephisto. My knight, you did a good job and taught my child a lesson. Mephisto patted Ghost Rider happily. Ghost Rider instantly transformed into Johnny. At this time, the hellfire wrapped around Mephisto's body became more and more powerful. As if it was tempering the body of the witch-heart demon, the pale skin turned dark red, and the hair was burned away in an instant, replaced by a pair of long horns. It seems that only the bald identity can show the majesty of the Lord of Hell. I am the Lord of Hell, Mephisto. Mephisto opened his blood-red eyes. Boom! A powerful Waya and hellfire are present at this moment. It had turned into a huge amount of fire wave, which spread to the entire town in an instant, turning the entire town into a hell. At this moment, Su Chen had already led everyone away and hid in a safe place. Sure enough, Wu Shinmo is a fool. In fact, you just want to borrow his body to come to Earth. He is a child after all, and he is still too young. How can a little kid see through my city? Mephisto laughed wildly, thinking that he had accidentally tricked his child to death. He didn't feel guilty at all, but was in a good mood because of it. You know, there is such a saying that has been circulating in hell. He's still young, so don't let him go. This is a very good virtue in hell. You are so confident to appear on Earth, Su Chen said suspiciously. After all, there are many bosses on Earth, and Mephisto needs to make his own decisions if he wants to do evil. The boss of Ancient One, this person has a god's perspective and has seen many finales. She is the nemesis of evil spirits from other dimensions. The witch's heart demon is a container that I carefully cultivated and can carry most of my power. This is also the ultimate reason why the witch heart demon has no soul. After all, this body will be used by me. And I couldn't use the inner demon's ability perfectly, so I evaded the surveillance of the priory with a cowardly body, and finally allowed me to sneak away perfectly. This plan is perfect. Now the entire human world belongs to me. Mephisto laughed wildly. Because the earth cannot allow his true form to come, it cannot bear his power. Every time, he would fight with the Ancient One magician through his own duplication, and then be driven back in embarrassment by the Ancient One. Otherwise, when this deity comes, the earth will already be in his possession. Human, you are very good. You have such profound magic power at such a young age. Mephisto looked at Su Chen with praise in his eyes. Sign a contract with me to please me and become my caster. Let's evade taxes together, pleasure. Get rid of the human body and gain eternal life. As the world's largest MLM leader, how could he resist promoting such a good idea? I won't bother you anymore. Su Chen said coldly that he was still very satisfied with the fact that he was still a human being. There is no thought of changing race just yet. Even if there is one, it must be a humanoid race that is not reproductively isolated from humans, or a race that has hit the ceiling. Little Trask, I'm sorry, Su Chen is not interested. Mephisto, Midgard is protected by Asgard, you can't get involved. Thor shouted, looking at Mephisto. Are you Thor? You are too weak, I haven't noticed your existence for so long. Mephisto looked at Thor in surprise, but no matter how he looked at it, he felt that Mephisto was just faking it. Son of Odin, you still haven't changed your arrogant character. Even your father would not speak to me like this. After the transformation, Mephisto stared at Thor condescendingly and said, if my father were here, would you dare to speak like this? Thor immediately snapped back. If the evil spirit was here, he would definitely say, afraid. But Mephisto doesn't do that. Mephisto thinks that he is not weak, and he is not weak to anyone in hell. If he leaves hell and causes trouble in the 9 realms, as long as it does not touch Asgard's interests, Odin will still give him some face. However, the earth is Midgard that connects the 9 realms. Without the earth, the so-called 9 realms will be separated, and this is definitely not tolerated by the Asgard people who regard themselves as the rulers of the 9 realms. If the relationship with Odin is not properly handled, even if he really succeeds in killing the Ancient One and taking over the earth, he will immediately trigger a war with Asgard. This definitely refers to the past. As for the present, Odin is indeed a strong man worthy of respect. Mephisto said, suddenly showing a playful smile. But at the moment, is he okay? It's not your turn to care about my father's affairs. Thor's face also darkened at the moment. Sure enough, this guy had received the news and had been prepared for it. Oh, that's it. Then let me change the question. Mephisto also stopped smiling as he spoke, and his tone became serious. I heard that Asgard has already started a war with its old enemy, the ice giant. At this juncture, do you still want to provoke another enemy? Mephisto questioned Thor, his tone becoming aggressive. Son of Odin, I heard that the reason why Asgard went to war with the Jotunheim ice giant was because of your recklessness. So now I give you a chance, go back to your Asgard, and I can pretend that nothing happened. Otherwise you will repeat the same mistakes and drag Asgard into the abyss of eternal destruction. Thor, upon hearing this, Sif stepped forward and pulled Thor unconsciously, and her worry could be seen in his eyes. There is no doubt that Mephisto is the most cunning devil king. He hit Thor's key point with just a few words. The fundamental reason why Asgard is facing the situation it is in today is because of Thor's recklessness. But if there was no accident like Su Chen, then Thor would probably believe it. That was when Su Chen gave Thor a plan that could perfectly resolve the war between Jotunheim and Asgard. Although he didn't say it clearly, Su Chen was still very confident. Although Su Chen had a bad personality, what he said was still very reliable. Don't worry, I already have a perfect way to deal with Jotunheim and Asgard. If you are messing around, I will definitely lead troops to attack your hell. Enough, stupid son of Odin, you have finally worn out my little patience. Seeing that his bewitchment failed, Mephisto didn't bother to talk nonsense to him anymore. The raging hellfire gushes out from its body and soon condenses into a devil's face that is tens of meters high. In front of the Lord of Hell with eternal life, even Odin is just a junior, not to mention you, a young child. What qualifications do you have to talk to me like this? The flame devil looked down at Thor and roared said. Just because I am Thor. Faced with such oppression, Thor is not afraid to use the power of thunder. Boom, boom, deafening thunder sounded, and countless lightnings illuminated the entire sky, turning the night sky into a sea of thunder, and in the center of this sea of thunder was Thor flying into the air. For the honor of the northern god, Thor swooped down towards Mephisto with a thunderous thunder. Boom, infinite thunder and lightning intertwined with the fire of hell, like two giant beasts, roaring and fighting with each other, but in the end the flames were stronger and forcibly scattered and knocked Thor away. I'm going to show you my true power. The space around Mephisto was continuously torn apart, and endless hellfire poured out of it. It seemed that the sky and the earth began to melt with flames at the moment, and the air was filled with a pungent smell of sulfur. Tear apart, two claws flowing with magma tore out of the body of the witch-heart demon. And then a head with huge horns appeared from the body of the witch-heart demon. At the moment, Tito has become abnormally huge. Refer to Thor 3. Close black lens bracket. If I go, I can actually transform into a second stage. Su Chen looked at the huge Mephisto and couldn't help but marveled. Su Chen, give me back my Mjolnir. At this time, Thor jumped in front of Su Chen with a bruised nose and face. After all, as a god, he can't fly yet and needs the help of a hammer. It's useless even if Mjolnir is given to you, you can't beat him. Su Chen said to Thor mercilessly. Let's step back first. Let's give this old antique a taste of the technological crystallization of modern civilization. At this time, countless aircraft and missiles flew over Su Chen's head. Hit the gigantic Mephisto. It turned out that it was Su Chen's previous battle, and Phil Coulson had quietly made a rescue call. Countless fighter planes and warships launched missiles to attack the huge life form that suddenly appeared. Boom, boom. The high explosive missile was detonated at this time. With such a concentrated and high-density detonation, its power is equivalent to that of a Davy small tactical nuclear bomb. Is everything okay? When the fire from the explosion dissipated, the figures of Su Chen and Icarus appeared among the rubble, and Thor, Johnny and his group were underneath him. In the explosion of infinite combos, Mephisto roared with rage. The Demon King, the oldest spellcaster who has ruled hell since its existence, experienced the art of the human world for the first time. Although it did no harm to him, these successive explosions. Extremely humiliating. Earthlings, I'm going to kill you. Mephisto roared angrily. Mephisto said, leaping forward and rushing out of the explosion range. In the devil's mouth, dark red light suddenly condensed and burst out under the compressed concentration point. The light beams twisted and converged into a thicker shockwave amidst the sonic boom sound of friction in the air. The violent airflow stirred up directly broke through the space and caused ripples. Boom! A demon ray from his mouth destroyed all human fighter planes along the way. Then he said that he rushed towards a nearby military base without losing any momentum. Everything intercepted in front of it was annihilated into nothingness at the moment of contact. Time stood still, no explosion occurred, but the collapsed space twisted into a cyclone. The feeling of swallowing up the surrounding things and shrinking is like a piece of space being wiped out, causing the distance between heaven and earth to be shortened. Apart from the occasional leaked space ripples, there was not even a trace of sporadic flames. A large military base was magically erased by Mephisto. See GUI. Su Chen suddenly appeared in front of Mephisto. Magician, are you coming to stop me? Or do you want to pretend to be me after seeing my power? Mephisto said disdainfully. Su Chen didn't speak, and the fighting spirit in his eyes was self-evident. Mephisto, I understand your idea of taking the earth into assist, but you have fought against the Ancient One so many times, haven't you noticed anything unusual? Su Chen asked calmly. Ancient One. Abnormal. No, it's been so long. Why didn't the Ancient One appear? Mephisto thought for a while and immediately realized that something was wrong. If it were normal, the Ancient One would have appeared at this time and blocked the space. He's been around for so long now, but as the Sorcerer Supreme, he didn't even appear. This is the biggest abnormality. Then it's definitely because of me, because he feels that without me, you can't make big waves. You mean? Mephisto took a careful look at the little magician in front of him. Come hammer. Thor finally found his beloved hammer at this time and hugged it tightly. Finally, that guy won't suppress you anymore. We finally meet each other. Now that I have my hammer, Mephisto, I will fight you for 300 rounds. The next moment Thor realized something was wrong. He found that his hammer moved on its own. The hammer vibrated violently. Phew! Mjolnir's speed immediately broke through the sound barrier and flew into Su Chen's hands. This is my hammer. How can you listen to outsiders? Don't you love me anymore? But now, with the cruel reality before him, how could he feel calm in his heart? This feeling is like my wife suddenly ran away from home, Green. You ask why he has no problem with Captain America holding a hammer. That's Thor marrying a better axe. It's still unclear who is Green and who is not. The hammer Odin once wielded. Mephisto was slightly surprised that this mortal could ignore the restrictions set by Odin's divine power. Turn into ashes for me. Mephisto, who was alert, waved his hand, and the hellfire turned into a huge wave of fire, sweeping towards Su Chen. Su Chen faced the sea of fire that was so hot that it seemed to melt everything. Su Chen raised Mjolnir and waved it lightly. The dazzling Mjolnir's lightning was like a small sun, transformed into a violent thunder and lightning that was as physical as the sun. The hellfire in front of him was defeated almost instantly. The violent thunder and lightning elements almost electrolyzed the objects around Su Chen into nothingness. The space around Su Chen began to distort. This was the true power created by the Death Star core. Under the influence of Mjolnir, the surrounding gravity also began to become disordered. This chaotic magnetic field, the houses, the earth, and the air are all being torn apart and collapsing. With such terrifying power, it did no harm to Su Chen. This is due to Su Chen's high physical strength, plus a little bit of magic to improve her physical fitness. If Thor is present, it is estimated that the strong gravity will cause Thor to undergo atomic nirvana directly. Are you ready, Lord of Hell? Su Chen took one step forward, shattering the earth, and jumped in front of Mephisto like a sharp arrow. I'm just a mortal, don't be too arrogant. Mephisto, who felt the huge crisis, also roared angrily. He was Mephisto, the Lord of Hell, how could he be afraid of a mortal? Then let's try it. Su Chen had already raised the dazzling Mjolnir high, and then smashed the terrifying weapon, which weighed an unknown number of billions of tons, down on Mephisto's head. Purely physical attack, a serious hammer. Accompanied by a dazzling white light as strong as a supernova explosion, everything around the entire base was annihilated one by one in the terrifying energy. Like the blow of a small planet falling, huge amounts of shockwave were directly set off on the ground. The entire New Mexico felt like a violent earthquake, and a huge shockwave carrying thick smoke swept through several surrounding cities. It seems that Mephisto's unwilling roar can still be heard in this shockwave. Mephisto, Lord of Hell, the demon king who has ruled hell since its existence and one of the oldest spellcasters in history. For the first time, I felt the powerful power from a physical attack. When the lightning dissipated, Su Chen quickly threw away Mjolnir. Mjolnir was now extremely hot due to excessive stimulation of power. However, it is worth noting that at the moment a crack suddenly appeared on Mjolnir. My Mjolnir. At the moment, Thor rushed out from nowhere and picked up his hammer in distress. Seeing Su Chen's gaze, Thor took a few steps back and subconsciously put the hammer behind him. He looked at Su Chen as if he was cheating on his wife, and he didn't dare to resist. And he also discovered that his hammer was so powerful that he didn't even know. It's like my wife has unlocked many strange postures in the hands of others. The most important thing is that my hammer still has cracks. What does this mean? This shows that the other party is strong. If it is not protected, the hammer will probably be lost at the end of the year. Thor couldn't help but think to himself, is this the correct way to use Mjolnir? Have you been playing with fake wives for so many years? Regarding Thor's vigilance, Su Chen rolled his eyes speechlessly. Even if the hammer was given to him, he would have to consider it. Although it is quite powerful, this hammer is too small. He is not a blacksmith with such a Shojun hammer. What are you holding it for? It doesn't fit his powerful magician image. It's okay. Phil Coulson and Johnny suddenly crawled out of the soil. Under Johnny's protection, Phil Coulson once again survived a ground-washing attack. This vitality is almost the same as Oculobe, the guy who ate the fairy beans in Dragon Ball. As Mephisto dead, Phil Coulson turned to Su Chen and asked, "Are you thinking too much? Is Mephisto the most cunning Lord of Hell? How can he be eliminated? Besides, this is just his possession. You can't even hit his real body. How can you kill him? Although we can't kill him, the price for eliminating this duplication is probably quite high. I'm afraid he won't be able to come to Earth to do evil for a long time, and will have to stay in hell." Su Chen explained. "Okay, Thor, let's talk about compensation." Then Su Chen said to Thor, "We should be meeting Asgard now. I have wasted a lot of time on Earth. I want to go see my father. My country needs me." Thor said to Su Chen impatiently. "Wait a minute, Thor, don't forget our deal. Help you restore your divine power, an artifact, playing cards, you lost 3, and the final customized artifact." Su Chen stared at Thor and said calmly, "Brother, don't say you want to default on your debt." After saying that, Su Chen summoned Mjolnir again. He said with a threatening look in his eyes, "How could it be? I am Thor. My name is the greatest credibility." In order to cover up his embarrassment, Thor spoke righteously and said he had no other ideas. "If that's the case, then keep your Mjolnir with me for a while, and I will return it to you after you send everything over." Su Chen put his arm around Thor's shoulders and acted like a good brother, but in reality he was threatening. Forced by Su Chen's power, Thor had no choice but to give in. He couldn't beat him again and again, and the hammer didn't listen to himself. This was the only way he could barely survive. "After returning to Asgard, I must ask my father to kill this one. Is this right? Come on, let me tell you how to make Jotunheim and Asgard peaceful forever." Since Thor was like this, Su Chen also accepted it and said to Thor. Thor immediately changed his mind when he heard this, so he could just ask his father to teach him a lesson. After saying that, Su Chen gave Thor a tube of potion. At that time, you only need to inject this thing into Loki. When the medicine takes effect, your father will understand. Before Su Chen could finish speaking, the dark clouds in the sky began to stir violently. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe.